everybody, dude. It's hilarious, like, of what people... And then what sucks is we started out with a lot of veterans.
Yeah.
And because that was just my niche, and I knew so many here in the valley.
You were.
And so everybody's like, I'm not a vet. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And that's when we were like, we got to start having civilians on.
Definitely not a vet.
Yeah.
They would have kicked me out a long time ago.
I don't know, man. I was pretty fucking belligerent. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot, as long as you don't get caught.
As long as you're smarter than the last guy.
Yeah, or you can run faster. So, CJ, we're going to jump right into it, buddy. You ready?
Yeah. Star's late.
No, you're good.
Good.
Sorry, you're all bougie and don't ever drive to this side of town.
No. Chiндon's like,
Everything is such
really?
a nightmare right now.
Eagle Road's awful.
It's horrible. What is that doing to business? Because you have like 4 businesses on Eagle Road.
Yeah, and it's shut down like all of downtown.
Yeah.
So you have Eagle Road shut down going northbound. Then you have Plaza shutting down for the Vault. Mm-hmm. So you got Rembrandt's with nothing there, and then you got Vault now. They took away my entrances in the Vault right now. I'm like, cool. Don't worry about it, guys. We're all right.
You're right.
We're all right. Yeah.
That sucks.
People will walk. They like walking in Idaho. Yeah.
You're fortunate with that. All right, dude.
They don't like walking. That was a lie.
Well, I mean,
People are lazy. If you make them think, they're done.
Oh,
if you make a customer have to think about how to do something, they should never.
You lost them.
You lost them.
See, I want to get into this.
They're gonna
I
go
want to get
somewhere
into this. Okay, so let's jump in. So,
Okay.
fist distance. You can, if you're too close, you can adjust it however you want. Yeah, you don't have to sit like that the whole time. No, but yeah, dude. So we're
This is
just
recorded, right? This is not good.
this is how we do it. So, we're just gonna have a conversation. I want to know your life. You are very successful on the business aspect of things. You own lots of businesses here in the valley, and I'm sure elsewhere. And I've watched you for the last couple of years, and I just wanted to pick your brain on it. And I think a lot of people, after talking to you quickly with Charlie, kind of like spark like the holy shit. I need to sit down with you because you are somebody that I feel that it can be very valuable to a lot of people, at least guys that are looking to start off. So.
Well, we'll pretend like that all was true.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So CJ, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your first time doing a
First time
podcast.
podcasting, yeah.
So-
Don't even know where to look. I didn't want to stare at you too much. I'm like,
You can stare at me if you
guys
want.
back there.
Yeah, you got Chris behind the counter. So,
yeah.
But yes, why don't we just start where you're from? Let's just start. We're just gonna start right from the beginning.
Yeah, born in Billings, Montana.
How was that?
Well, actually, we lived in Roundup, like north of Billings.
Mm-hmm.
We lived in a great trailer. You know, single wide.
Mom and dad together?
Mom and dad together. We had a phone a mile away.
Really?
Yep. My dad was a long haul semi truck driver. Well, not long haul. He did groceries, but he would, because where we were at, he would go.
It was a long haul.
It was a long haul. Yeah. It wasn't considered a long haul, but it was across state.
Okay.
Mom, 3 kids. You know, I'm the middle child. I have a younger brother who was born in Roundup, which was kind of like the vet. But yeah, we lived in the middle of nowhere. Damn. And my parents are from California. You know, here's this Sicilian guy gets married to this Irish woman, and they have a child, and they're like, oh crap, we don't belong.
Yeah.
So my dad, beach bum, skip school, drag racer, decides, hey, let's move to Montana and be a cowboy.
Really?
Yeah. And so he moves us all up to Montana, and we were there. He was helping out. We met this couple up there that had thousands and thousands of acres.
Mm-hmm.
They were ranchers. And they said, well, we got a place. And they set him up. And my dad got a truck driving job. And when he wasn't doing that, he was working on the ranch. And that was the start of where we were headed. You know, we didn't have much. My dad was a mechanic by trade through school and things like that. Never went to college until later. But probably still be in Montana if my dad didn't wake up on my mom's birthday in 86, I believe, paralyzed from his waist down.
Just random.
November 23rd, just wake up one day, just can't walk.
What?
Yep. And you know how great in the 80s Montana, with the main roads a dead end both ways, the system was. They said, well, you got MS, you're never going to walk again, good luck.
That was
See you later. Yeah, well, we can't really help you.
He had no signs building up to this or anything. Just one day, just woke up and that was it.
Nothing.
That's
Semi
wild.
truck driver before, delivering groceries, working on a ranch, and then just woke up, couldn't walk.
Wow.
Now there's like a spiritual side to what his life story is and what our life story is in our family. And what happened was he gave his life to the Lord. He decided he's going to be a pastor, and he started walking. Now, by this time, we moved down to California for medicine.
So you left Montana, went back to Cali.
Okay. Yep. And he started walking. He went to master's college, and to this day, he's walked. He's ran. He can't feel temperature, so riding motorcycles is real fun. He's like, "Hey, Dad, your leg's burning.
You're melting your calf."
Oh, I was wondering what that smell was. I'm like, "You're smart."
Right?
Yeah.
So he gives his life to the Lord.
And yep. And and he's a stubborn man.
Yeah.
You know, so something big had to happen to say, okay, I'm going to surrender my life to something.
100%.
And so he was completely like, okay, now what do I do?
Goosebumps, dude.
I'm a semi-truck driver
Yeah.
that can't drive, you know. And so, yeah, my mom, and I tell you, we moved, I mean, we moved a lot. So as soon as my dad went to master's college, got his degree. I think we were there 2 years, and we moved right up to Idaho, and that's how we got up to Idaho. Because they didn't want to raise us in California.
Nobody
didn't like
does.
California.
Yeah.
They're like, we're out. And this is back in the '80s, so it was a little bit better probably, but not. And they just didn't want the influence on. You know, I never really grew up with a lot of cousins running around, even though there's big families on both sides. We didn't really grow up with them, but. So we just kind of started a new life, but we ended up living with friends because, again, Dad doesn't have a job. We're on Social Security, disability.
Being a pastor is not the most lucrative.
Being a pastor, he didn't like, hey, let's go make money. So so we kind of just lived with different people.
Growing up? To what age?
And I kid you not, I went to Lake Hazel Elementary, Amity Elementary, Frontier Elementary, McMillan Elementary.
Damn.
And then we decided, my dad's like, I got a job in Montana, go back to Billings. So we packed up everything, we moved there, and we were there 7 months. And ended up going to 2 elementary schools there. And it was like, I'm like, cool. And we moved right back. He's like, no, just kidding. Montana's not for us.
Yep, just had to check one more time.
Just making sure. So we lived in Montana twice, right? But it was a very short time. And then, but from there.
I mean, that's worse than a military brat.
Oh, I think I was in 13 different schools in 10 years because I never graduated. So
you never graduated high school?
Never graduated high school. Yeah, I dropped out. I say dropped out, but I got my GED.
Yeah. Good for you, man.
School's not. I'm not the school guy. So
you didn't graduate high school?
No.
Fucking A. No. I never in a million years, man. Yeah. Okay, this makes it even better.
Yeah, never graduated high. Well, and yeah, my parents said, hey, you got to do your required classes. So 0 hour, which I'm always on time to everything.
Right.
I think it happened as
Clearly.
I think I'm 42 minutes late today. But we call it CJ time.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah,
I know CJ
just
time.
happens when I show
CJ.
up. Yeah.
Yep.
If I show up.
So we were really planning on starting at 10. So we're ahead of schedule.
See, you have mastered CJ time.
I watch.
You're like, we're going to meet him at 9, but don't show up till
I never
9:30.
schedule anybody at 9. You're the only one I've scheduled at 9 for the buffer zone.
That is hilarious. And it's true. Yeah. But I don't know where I left off. But yeah, just went to schools.
13 schools.
A lot of schools. And had the most amazing childhood.
Yeah?
Yeah. Different experiences. Don't have a lot of childhood friends. Weird. Because you met them for 6 months. You're like, see you later.
So you learn to adapt really quick.
Yeah. And I think that's part of my success story is that you really didn't. You had to either be a loner,
A hermit,
or you had to learn how to talk to a fence post or anybody, right?
Yeah.
You had to just be able to jump in and go. Yeah,
You're exactly right. I feel that you.
I think it could go either way.
And you have to. I mean, especially the amount of new people you're constantly meeting, new classrooms. You're always the new kid,
Teachers.
so you have to evolve very quick.
And fully disclosure, I did take second grade twice. So we can add okay, it wasn't 13, it was 12 or whatever. But yeah, so
no shit.
But, yeah.
So you adapted very quickly. You learned how to mirror and match and just become the person that can talk to anybody.
Which was challenging in its own way because you became less authentic to yourself and more adaptive to your surroundings,
Interesting.
right? Because no, people like you when they get to know you. I
Absolutely.
didn't have time for someone to get to know me, right? So you were less authentic to yourself and more adapted to like, okay, now how am I going to act to this surrounding? You walk into a group, you're dressed like this, you talk like this. Okay, game on, right? I'm a different character.
Okay.
And so,
But that's a really good life skill to have.
or it's really like you look at yourself and say, who am I? You know,
Yeah.
am I really me or am I just pretending?
How long did it take for you to realize you were just pretending?
You know, I think, well,
Not like pretending in life, but
no,
like
no.
adapting, I guess.
Especially in high school, like, I don't think anybody really knew me.
It's kind of sad in a way, though.
I mean, no one really knew who I was. I mean, I have some friends that, you know, I periodically talk to, but, and I say friends, it's like maybe twice, you know, every 5 years.
Yep.
You know, like, oh yeah, hey, we went to high school. We went to high school together. Like,
Yeah.
I think we did, but so it's just kind of, but like I said, I had such a great childhood because my parents, like, we were never wealthy, but my parents never let us know it. My mom always was home.
Yep.
We always did family things. We did vacations, right? We did everything normal. You know, we didn't go get the buckle or whatever else. We were wearing, you know, the Costco specials or whatever, but we really didn't know any different. You know, we got hand-me-downs, whatever, but it wasn't our lifestyle to be anything different. So we never knew what we didn't have. And so we did vacationing as far as camping and really things that were. So my parents did a phenomenal job raising 3 kids. I think when I graduated high school, my dad was making something like, or dropped out of high school, $27,000 a year. You know, my mom was barely working, and so they just made everything work.
That's incredible.
You know, and it's like, okay, that's crazy. And now you look at your life now and you're like, okay, I'm spoiled. Like,
Yeah.
my kids don't need a new Lego set.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Exactly.
It's a $400 Lego set. Yeah, why not? What are you doing? But yeah, so that's kind of how I started, and I worked at Wendy's. And
How'd you get in with Wendy's?
so I thought I was.
So after high school.
Well, okay, so I wanted to be a firefighter.
Okay.
Really wanted to be a firefighter. And so I was looking at, you know, I had a friend, Drew Cater, in high school, and his dad was a fire chief or a fire marshal. And we were sitting around, and I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh, we're part of this Explorer program. And I never did scouts or anything. I'm like, that sounds fun. Let's go do that. So that's kind of, I started hanging around that group, and it was basically like learn how to be a firefighter in like as a kid. Like
Okay.
go
So
through
they're recruiting you.
It's like recruiting as it goes. So we did shifts and things like that, but learned how to tie knots, and
Yeah.
we were basically free labor. Like wash out the bay, polish the truck.
This is great.
Yeah, look at me, I'm on a fire truck.
Yeah.
We did the Wet and Wild parade. In fact, the other day, one of the firefighters that just retired sent me a picture of me on top of a fire truck, shirtless, suspenders, in the Wet and Wild parade. I didn't even recognize the guy. I'm like, it was like 200 pounds ago. Nice,
Really?
nice to know that guy. I don't know who
Yeah.
he is, but it was a fun experience. It was that's where I started creating my first brotherhood or friendships or whatever you want to call it, and realized, okay, the friendships that we're making is actually, I'm like, this is a better way to live within a group. Because even my dad, he was a pastor my whole life, but we'd move church to church to church, and just he'd be kind of the guy that goes in there and, fixes some things, and moving on, fixing some things, whatever. And so, this was the first time I felt like, oh,
This is home.
my people, right? And so that's what I thought I was going to do. And so, but I just hated school, hated it. And I was working, I had to get a job. I was flipping hamburgers and
Where?
Wendy's.
Okay, so you've.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had a couple other jobs. I worked at Pronto Pups, worked at Red Robin. I was always in the food industry kind of thing, moving my way up. And a gentleman that I was raised with, his name's George Damani. He was now the director of operations for Wendy's. And I'm like, I just don't want to do this. And he goes, well, come manage the store. but you have to have a GED. You can't just be a
And how old are you at this point?
17.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right. So I was working for him, and he's like, get on here. Get over here. And so, so I got my first store super young. Started running it.
What's super young?
So I was 17, and he made me a manager, and I turned 18 shortly afterwards, and it was like,
So you're
hey, by
running
the
your,
way,
your first Wendy's at
Here you
18
go,
years
yeah.
old.
Figure this out. Nampa Caldwell Boulevard is where I was at.
Yeah.
And I was like, what am I doing? I don't know what anything is, but I fell in love with restaurants then.
How
I was still doing
how
firefighting.
was that? Oh, okay. So you were still doing the firefighting thing,
So I
and
still
you were
was
running
doing
a
both.
restaurant.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And so being a young manager for Wendy's and looking at, these other things of maybe I still want to do firefighting. And so I started taking more firefighting classes, and Firefighter 1 and EMS and just I want to be a medic. And so it was kind of I think was able to split my personalities. I could do this and do this really well.
Yeah.
And so really don't know why I ever quit being a firefighter. Sometimes I look at my life now and I'm like, dude, I would be retired. I'd have a lot more time to myself, like times off. And, I'm almost envious. And I talk to my friends that are retiring or that are in the fire department. And I worked for Eagle Fire, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I should have kept at it. And they're like, are you kidding me? I'm like, yeah, you don't know how much I envy your job right now. Just the brotherhood and just, it was such a great spot to be. But at the end of the day, I hated medical.
Okay.
Hated it. Hated it.
Why is that?
I sometimes lack and which is a good thing, but sometimes I'm not as sympathetic as I should be. I'm like, it's just put a Band-Aid on it, like whatever, But then it was like their worst time. So like the little things I didn't really mind and I didn't really care much, but then the big things just rocked me. Like going to a kid that committed suicide that I was in school with. And I'm just a kid, And so you started seeing like, more death and more worse times and more of this and that. And I think I just realized that you either have to become really hard, like be numb to this part of your life, if you're going to do the job. So I have tremendous respect for any of that first responder
100%.
or military or anything else. Like it's like, well, and being a firefighter, I was like, well, maybe I can go in the Air Force.
I was going to ask, like, you sound like with just needing that brotherhood, the military would have been a perfect.
Well, and I'm like, I got to do this. And I don't know why, more than just, it just never fit.
Yeah.
It never really worked. So
you start realizing that being a firefighter or paramedic isn't the thing. So you start really like, okay, maybe this Wendy's manager position.
Well, maybe food. And, you started living for like $1. And you're like, oh, I can make $1. And so, relatively young, I was making great money for being so young, no degree, a lot more than all my friends were still in college or whatever else in high school. And I bought my first house at, I think I was 19 years old.
Really?
In Eagle.
What is your first house?
$64,000.
You bought a house in Eagle for $64,000.
Yep.
Have you ever
It was a
looked it up recently?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
What's it worth now?
I think the last one in there sold for like $390 something, almost $4. I'm like, dude, it's 900 square feet.
Right.
Like, it's not worth it. But,
It is now.
I guess it was.
Yeah, right.
I remember it was, and I was so proud of buying this house.
For sure.
So I'm at my dad's house, and there's a group of people there, and I'm talking to someone. I'm like, yeah, I had to outbid this guy to get this house. And he's like, yeah, I just got outbid on a house. I'm like, no kidding. Where's your house? Eagle. I said, yeah, mine's Eagle too. He goes, yeah, what's your? I said, Eagle Glen. He goes, mine was Eagle Glen. I said, 288 Eagle Glen. He goes, you're the jerk that outbid me.
Oh.
So and that made me more proud. And this guy,
for sure.
his name is Ryan Harris, and he's probably one of my best friends ever since. And this is how we met, right? I'm buying a house. He's trying to buy a house. Well, I'm like puffed up, but this place was, no carpet. When I walked in, I walked around it. the guy that must have lived there might have done some, I don't know, killed someone. I don't know. He had a mattress on the floor, guns everywhere. It was filthy. And it was just, you get that feeling like, what is this really?
Yeah.
What is this?
What is going on in here?
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if tripod camera set up somewhere
And
where
there's
it's,
handcuffed,
tied-
bolted to the
tied-
floor.
tied into, that's the kind of place. I'm like, so I had so much work. Well, I kid you not. Not a month later, I'm in it. Not a month later, the next door neighbor decides to put her house up for sale, and she's like, "Yeah, I just remodeled. I got all the remodel," and she's like, "I'm gonna put it up for 70." I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me." So I call Ryan. I'm like, "Hey, by the way, the way better property just went up beside me," and so we shared a wall for that many. So he bought it, but he didn't have to put a dime into it. It was perfect. It was done. I'm like, and he's like, "Yeah, wish you would have gone outbid me." I'm like, "Yeah, shut up. I don't want to talk to you." But that's how But that was the first house, and that was the first guy that I really would consider a best friend.
Yeah.
Because we did things together, right? We did. So it was kind of an interesting way to start. But I bought my first house in Eagle, and I was firefighting. And by this time, I didn't know what restaurants I wanted to do. And it's hard to be young and say, hey, I work in fast food.
Why? Just a pride thing?
Pride thing.
Okay.
Which I wish that it wasn't.
Why?
Because it is one of the most... when I look at fast food now, and I'm like, dang, just give me a fast food franchise. I want a franchise. I would sell everything I got and get a franchise.
Interesting.
A fast food franchise. Yeah, the systems, the technology, everything that goes into making a franchise like that systematically work.
So everything's cookie cutter then. So when you buy into a franchise, you're buying. When I say cookie cutter, obviously you're going to have your hurdles, but I mean, the timing, the systems. Mm-hmm. Everything is laid out technically.
Oh yeah, they have the what behind the why written in every direction. We made 6-second sandwiches, burgers, 6 seconds. And even in the condiments, white, red, green, right? Ketchup, or mayo, ketchup, pickle, onion, tomato, lettuce. Right, and then you did a W for Wendy's in mustard, put the lid on it, and throw it away. Right out the window. 6 seconds. 6 seconds. And you have to do it that way, right? It has to be that systematic where you just become robots.
Fascinating.
But you open your own place and you're like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this on. And all of a sudden your condiments are, you got a salad. I own restaurants
You're
now.
talking about if you open up your own personal restaurant.
Yeah, I got a hamburger. I'm like, oh, I got to get down here. I got to come over here. I got to toast a bun over there. I'm like, well, no wonder we suck. It's a 45-minute hamburger. You're like, oh, I got to run to the back. I got to get cheese.
So what you're saying is don't go to Rembrandt's. You're going to be waiting for
No, we got to figure it out. But that's someone didn't hand you the playbook.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, we just got to figure it out. But
so from going, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. But from going from fast food, how long were you running Wendy's?
Okay, so I was in and out of Wendy's. So I was in Wendy's, and again, my pride got the best of me, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to be a firefighter. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do this. And so funny story. So in 2004, I'm going to get my dates maybe wrong, but, you can fact check me. I don't really care.
Somebody will.
Yeah, I know somebody's like, oh, this guy's a loser.
I get it.
I am. It's true.
Fortunately for you, nobody listens to this. So you're good.
This is really nice.
One day when people discover us, maybe we'll worry about it then.
Yeah. Everything I'm saying from this on is a lie, so we're clear.
Yeah.
The only thing is I dropped out of high school. That's the only truth. No. I think in 2004, I got a job at Rembrandt's as a shift manager.
Really?
And the guy that opened it was Mark and Jeanette Pretty, and they sold a company, and it was like their give back charity thing. So this is back in the day where Rembrandt's was velvet reds, Venetian oranges, art all over the walls.
And it's originally a church, correct?
And it was originally a church, yeah. So that church was built in 1896, and moved to the current location in 1904.
Wow.
So it was moved down the street. So that's kind of cool building.
Yeah,
and Rembrandt's is just so if people don't know, is kind of an iconic building in Eagle, downtown Eagle. It started out as a church. In fact, the Baptist church that was using it, I think it was Baptist, is still alive today, and they're working on putting a new building up.
Really?
In fact, I just saw the blueprints for them, and it will be downtown Eagle. And the original bell that was in the bell tower at Rembrandt's is now going back in the bell tower.
That's cool.
That's in Eagle, which is kind of cool.
That is cool.
But so that's in 2003 or something. Mark bought it from the church.
Okay.
And he, just wanted to give back. And so he said, I'm going to build a place of belonging, a community center. And so he built this coffee shop and had no, it wasn't like, oh, I come from the food industry. He owned Vitamin Company, Richardson Labs, one of their companies that they owned, which is, they're super, they're three brothers and they're super smart. They're just brilliant. And each one of them brings something different to the table. It's so cool to talk to them because you can just talk to them and you're like, oh, okay, Ed does this, Mark does this, John does this, and
There's
their
powerhouse.
passion. Yeah. And a family, right? So that's even cool.
Yep.
Like they're brothers and they kept with it. But so they opened this place and I went to work for them. And it's kind of cool that I worked at the place I ended up buying 10 years later.
That is cool. There's not a lot of people that can say that.
Yeah, 14 years, whatever it was. But we'll do the math as we go.
Yeah.
But it was kind of fun. So, but I was doing that and firefighting because I really thought I was going to be in firefighting.
So you left Wendy's, went to Rembrandt's, and you were still firefighting. How many years did you firefight for?
So I was a volunteer firefighter. At 18, I became a volunteer. So I started when I was as the Explorers. I think I was 15. In fact, I think I even learned how to drive and drink beer at the fire station, right? Back there. We had the old fire station. It was way different.
Everything
It was so cool.
Yeah, everything
Dan Friend was the chief. We didn't really care about nothing. We had the nut feed. Remember the nut feed?
No.
So we had Rocky Mountain nut feed, right? Oysters.
Okay.
Cow balls.
And
we would have, before we had the park, we just did it in this field, and Lonesome Dove was there, and we just did hundreds and hundreds of nuts and beer. And it was
the community would
people
show
would come in, and what it would do is it would help support the volunteer fire department.
Yeah.
We had some staff, but it was a half staff, half volunteer department. And so we do these big old nut feeds, and people would come in for everything, and everybody gets sloshed, and we had a band going. It was the best, worst thing a first responder group could do, right? Because they were all drunk, every single one of them. We're like, don't have an emergency today.
Yeah,
we're gone.
God help
we're
us.
gone. Yeah.
You're on your own.
Maybe Star can come out. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
Which Star? It would be an hour out before they
exactly.
Yeah.
Back then, they're like all the way to Eagle. I don't know.
Yeah, when calling from Eagle to Star was long distance.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But that was there, and so that was a side note. But so I was there, young, 16, 18. I started, and I ended up staying on as a volunteer. Oh gosh, till I was 27. 20.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I was,
you have some
but I only had a volunteer here one day.
Yeah.
But quickly I started, did the Rembrandt's thing, left Rembrandt's, got picked up by, I went back to Wendy's.
Why?
Maybe I went back to Starbucks. I went to Wendy's twice. I might have went to Starbucks first as just another job.
Like as a barista, or were you running
store
it?
manager.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was.
How is that machine? I feel like Starbucks it's probably way different now, but
They are, they're way woke now, but they were probably the best, and they were probably the best oiled machine I've ever worked for.
Yeah, I feel like they have to.
It was just insane. The way they created Starbucks and the ability to make every drink. I don't think I've ever been in a Starbucks and it's tasted different. Like if you make a bad coffee, okay, but the coffee, flat out, tastes the same. I don't care if you're in Cyprus. I don't care if you're in anywhere, Frankfurt. Anywhere in Europe, it tastes the same. You're like,
good old Frankfurt.
what is this? I know.
We'll leave that out.
We'll talk about that later. Yeah. But so I was at Starbucks and I just GM, ran a store.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is it intimidating, or what's the learning curve like stepping into just a monster like Starbucks or Wendy's? Is it everything so programmed that it makes it simple, or is it you're just like, holy fuck, and you're just buried in the learning everything behind the business?
I actually it actually ignited me.
Okay.
Right? So maybe it's a little different for everybody, but for me, it was less about product because the product was
It's already there.
institutional, right? It was more about understanding how to motivate and work with people,
Got it. Which is a huge skill.
which is really all you're doing as management in any job. And I had this conversation yesterday with somebody, and they're like, I want to climb the corporate ladder. I don't know what to do. I'm the best at what I do. I said, well, cool, be the best at you. I'm not the best cook, but I'm going to be the best manager of a cook. You don't have to be an expert in your field to be the best leader.
Yeah.
In my world, and I believe in most worlds, because you need to motivate and direct and move.
Which it's its own skill, completely separated.
You have to understand it. Don't get me wrong. You have to understand it. You have to understand how it works and how it performs and what the end product needs to look like and how to get there. But you don't always need to be the expert.
Yep.
In fact, most times being the expert kind of hinders you to be the leader. I mean, we have all those stories, right? The guy that can do this the best can't lead anybody, but he can do this the best.
I feel like that is a typical, the most military shit ever.
Well, I would say that for you, military, because that's what I look at it as, like, you have a dynamite server, and you're like, you're going to be my manager. And then you put them as manager, and they suck. You're like, oh, man, what was I thinking?
Back you go.
You're an amazing server, but you are awful at that. You do not have the skills. And they kind of, the individual has to come to terms with, I either need a change because it takes different skill sets. Most of the time, they just get pissed off. Like, what do you mean? I'm a great server. Like, we're not talking about serving. Well, I don't understand.
Leading.
It's called leading. And there's a part of leading that is unspoken. It's your body language, how you do it, It's how it's when you speak, when you move, and it's not always easy to be like, check boxes here and there. You either have that skill, I believe, or you just don't.
I'm a firm believer you're born with it or you're not. And, you see these guys and they go to like these leadership classes and you'll pick things up and you can learn skills, but like, and I learned it in the military. I'm like, cool, this dude was the best guy that we've worked with. And then, he'd get promoted and you're like, holy, this guy is a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
You go from being top dog and then you get put in a leadership position. Now everybody hates you because you don't know how to lead, or you lean on, at least military side. And I feel like most guys, the route they take is just yelling and screaming. Like, and I always told my guys, and one of my best friends to this day, our teams were side by side, so all of our vehicles pretty much touched. And we would sit and watch all these other instructors and platoon sergeants just scream at their guys, and it's like him and I never yelled. Like, if I have to yell at you, like, we are fucked.
Well, even look at, like, the football, what's his name? Peterson for Boise State.
Oh, I don't.
The guy didn't even have to yell.
Yeah,
He just had to talk. No, way back in the day, he's now in Washington, wherever. I don't even know. I don't follow. I'm not a sport guy. But your guys respect you enough where they just listened. And I think people tend to overcompensate for their, maybe even their insecurities by yelling, right?
100%.
But it's more, I think it's you either go one way or the other. I've seen managers go into it and they're either a complete asshole or they're your buddy.
Then you get walked all
Either one never leads someone to the efficiencies. No, it never works. It just doesn't. And so there's a middle ground where, you have to be approachable and you have to be firm, but the point is being consistent.
That's the hardest part, is finding that middle ground. Because you're going to get walked all over, taken advantage of, and then if you're too much of an asshole, then they don't respect you. They're not going to be putting out the extra because they respect you and they love working for you.
Yeah.
It's a hard, and I know everybody has worked for both, know, and it's like, it's tough, it's one of those things. Like, I learned very early on in the military, like, I looked at certain leaders and was like, God, this guy's never yelled, but when he talked to you, you shut the fuck up. I mean, you were, and then if he was it was like dad, like.
Yeah, if you're disappointed, it's way worse than being yelled at.
Oh, like, you can take an ash chewing all day. And like, and
I'd rather you yell at me then
It's done and over
tell
with.
me, yeah, I'm like, oh,
Yeah, I'm like, all right, well,
that's pissed. That one up.
yeah, shit. But then when they're like, you let me down, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
God, you know?
Yeah.
But that's what it comes down to. And I feel most people, especially ones that climb the ranks really quick, they never have the time to adapt to learn as they grow.
Mm-hmm.
And then just because you're put in a leadership position doesn't mean you're a leader.
Yeah.
By any means. And
being the soldier or being someone under that kind of leader,
makes it
you
tough.
still got to do your job. You know, you still want to be like, okay, I'm going to follow this, but it becomes the most difficult piece of the whole equation. Like, because at the end of the day, maybe leaders are going to yell at me, but leaders don't do anything.
No.
It's everybody under the leader that accomplishes the goal, right? And you're like, if you can't lead, then your team doesn't
Execute.
perform,
Yep.
and it just doesn't work.
Visionaries and executors.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're not doing it, then.
So I don't even know where I'm at in the story.
Starbucks. I think we're somewhere around Starbucks, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating to me because we as an outsider, I've never worked in fast food. Straight as a kid, and my dumb ass like, oh, signed a dotted line and off I went. But I've always watched, and I sit and just me being who I am, I love breaking down how things work.
Yeah.
In systems, and so every time we would go to any of these Starbucks or anything, like I love like to me driving through In and Out and you get to see the assembly line fascinates me. And it's not even just
doing it with kids.
That's part of the fascination for me is you're hiring high schoolers that don't even know how to wipe their own fucking ass yet, and these kids are running a full assembly line.
$1 million business, multi-million-dollar business.
Multi-million.
Yeah.
And then the fact that these kids, when they launched this In and Out here, I mean, bro, people were waiting in line for 6 to 8 hours. By 15 hours, people were camping in. So
when you pass the 8-hour mark and you can make it to Salt Lake and back pretty much in the same time.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same day. You're like, I could fly,
when I could
get
drive
one,
to
come back.
Ogden and back by the time I'm going to get my
Get
burger
through,
sitting
I'm like,
in this.
okay, maybe I
It's
should.
a little much.
But,
But you watch this kid, and he's just fucking pumping out
yeah.
French fries, or the guys with the sautéed onions, and I just watch.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me that they have. That's why I kind of
they
asked
have it
about
so systematically that this is your job. This is your one job. Like, you need to perfect onions and do it till you perfect it. And then you go to this. And you don't get, it's really like we're not paying you to think, we're paying you to do.
100%.
Right? And just systems. And that's what the power of these franchise have. And that's why, in a large amount, those are why they're so successful. Because systems and those things, they protect the two most important things in restaurants: food cost, labor cost. No matter what.
Is that what kills you in a
nothing
restaurant?
else matters. If you sign a bad lease, you're an idiot. Okay? That's your fault. I've signed a bad lease. I signed a bad lease not too long ago. My own fault.
Really?
It crushed me in that business.
Okay.
If you can't control the non-controllables, you can't control what your power bill is going to be really. We're going to turn off the lights more, or your water, your sewer, your chemical, your cleaning. You can do a little bit more of that. Your insurance. You can't. That's just what it is. No matter what, your rent. You
can only get
a guy in New York told me once, a brilliant man, restaurant man, and he goes, "Your rent should be your worst day of sales, 1 day of sales. That should cover your entire rent." Well,
Is that possible?
not in Idaho. Well, not that I know of. Okay. I mean, it's hard. Your worst day in sales, it covers your first. I mean,
I feel like that's
it's
the
a great way to do it.
Yeah, if you can get it.
But not everybody does it. That's why restaurants are such a low barrier of entry for mom and pops. That you get in there and you're like, well, I can do this for this and this for that, and you don't realize
all the little
performance. But the biggest thing that you don't manage is food costs and labor costs, and that is what restaurants and franchises in general. That's what they perfected. That's what you're buying.
Okay.
That's really what you're buying. You're basically saying, the franchise is saying, look, you want to be successful in a restaurant? Buy this franchise. And I'm going to almost guarantee you, if you follow, and most times, from Starbucks, I got picked up by Food Maker, and Food Maker owns Jack in the Box, Qdobas. We did the JBX grills. We failed miserably, but we learned a ton, right? JBX grills failed, and all of a sudden we redesigned all the restaurants to have fireplaces in them. Right? Jack in the Box now has fireplaces, and the way it was designed, and the use of the reason why JBX Grill really failed, and this is a sideline, but JBX Grill was an offshoot of Jack in the Box. But in JBX Grill, we used everything about Jack in the Box. So we had the heads everywhere. We had all this system where you went through and you're feeling like you're going through a fancy Jack in the Box. Cool. It's still fast food. It's still Jack in the Box. So now your 99-cent tacos are $6.
And people quickly figured that out.
Well, it's better food. It says Jack in the Box, dude. You're still, where are you getting it from? The same distribution. Okay. So you didn't divorce yourself far enough away from the two concepts to make one work. I don't actually think it was a bad concept.
I mean, it is a good concept.
It just didn't make sense. No. So then what you did was you took that and you blended it and blah, blah, blah. So, but these, when I got picked up by those guys, you know, my job was, I went from store to store to store to kind of, this is a trouble store. Let's go in and look at it. Let's go look at what the issues are. Let's figure it out. And 9 times out of 10, a store that didn't work was because they threw out the policy or the procedures.
Why would they do that, knowing that I just bought a turnkey?
Because I do it better.
Oh, it comes on the pride.
Or I'm lazy. I don't really want to do that. The people that own restaurants that don't count their food for inventory basically say, I'm throwing it to chance that I feel, my gut says that I'm doing a good job. If you have, the restaurant math is so easy. This is why I excel at restaurants, because it's elementary math. If you have $100 and you buy $50, your food cost is $150, right? In food. If you, at the end of the time you have $100 left, that food cost is now $50, right? You have beginning plus purchases minus ending. It's really simple.
Okay.
And that's your food. That's a food cost formula. Like if that's the basic bottom line.
Okay.
And basically you take that $50, that's your food cost. And they were like, well, what's the percentage? That divided by what your sales were becomes your percentage, right?
Yep.
It's pretty simple. But if you don't count your food.
What do you mean by count your food?
If you don't inventory your food.
Like you're literally count, okay, we got 100 burgers, we got.
Yeah, you got 15 pounds of burger, I buy it at this. This is what my cost is.
Okay.
Because then I understand where am I losing? If I'm losing money and you come to me and say, I have this restaurant. And we skipped over a large part of my life, but my life is boring. This is fun.
No, it's not. This is all fascinating to me.
If you do this and you're looking at it and you're like, my restaurant's failing, then you look at it and say, okay, what part is failing? Well, I don't know. Well,
how often did you get that answer?
Oh, all the time. They don't know when someone's failing in the restaurant, never do I really get the answer, well, my plate cost, meaning the food that goes out, is more money than is costing me more money than I'm making.
Yeah.
Because obviously at that point you'd be like, okay, I got to up my price.
Yeah.
And more or less when someone fails, it goes back to I can't get someone in my front door. Right? I can't get someone in my front door.
Is that the first knee-jerk reaction that people are instantly go to?
Well, and that's typically why they think I can't do it, and I just need marketing. I need to get people in the front door. I need to get my message out. I need to get this out. I need to get that out. But it doesn't matter if you have 400 people or 200 people. If you don't manage your costs, it won't matter anyway.
If you're losing money on every plate, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You're just losing more money.
You know what you can do? You can look really good losing $250 a year.
Oh, yeah, huh?
You can look really, I mean, and
Have
restaurants,
you had that
it's
happen?
like, oh, yeah. I've seen it happen all over time. And people just assume you have a restaurant, it's busy. Gosh, you must be raking in the money. Well, actually, I lost $20,000 last year because I closed my eyes. But the crazy part is, one little tweak, that same sales, that same process, I made $250,000. Just one little tweak.
And I don't want to say it's that easy because obviously a lot of businesses fail. What is it in the first
15 minutes, 15 minutes of an employee. Cut them out early. Labor's fixed.
Really?
You have to think, you're running a business where pennies multiply so fast, and you have to understand it. You have to understand that pennies matter.
Okay.
A dime matters. I mean, it's crazy.
Just because of the volume on those levels of the corporate places, you're talking pennies. I mean,
Or anywhere, like your labor.
Yeah.
You know, cut them out. But you were saying I think it's like every first 2 years or first
2 to 3 years or
the
whatever.
restaurant fails. Yeah.
Is that? I mean, it's just because.
I think because people get in this restaurant world and think, I like cooking, and my cooking's the shit, and they're gonna like my cooking, so
it's gonna be successful. Yeah.
Right? Or I want to own a restaurant. The worst ones is I like alcohol, so I'm going to open a bar. Well, you're the drunk in the bar.
Yep.
Like it's the old saying: the best drug dealer is the drug dealer that doesn't do drugs.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same process. Like people enter into this because of the fame or how you feel or what it might look like, but they don't really look at it as, you know, this is going to take away my weekends. This is going to take away my nights. My friends, they all yell at me all the time because I can't make it to something because I'm working or different things. And, you know, it's a commitment. This isn't like, someone told me, I love about restaurants is they manage themselves. Really?
You're like, what restaurants do you have?
That's so cool.
Yeah, right.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, where people think, I got a good product, I got a good team, everything else is great. You know, and we can get into that every employee, no matter what, is going to steal from you.
Really?
Every single one.
That's a bold statement, though.
Oh, I can prove it.
I mean, just by eating a burger, cooking a burger.
There's 3 ways that people
you count
burgers,
that.
money. That's how you make money.
Okay, I get it. Okay, I
let's
get
say
what
you're a car dealer.
Uh-huh.
Well, they just took one car.
Yeah, I mean, I get
That's
it.
how you make money, right? Without the car, do you make any money?
No.
Without the food, do you make any money?
No.
Oh, but it's just pennies. Oh, gosh. I'm a penny business. This is how I make my money.
Every employee.
Every employee. And I can prove it.
That's a
ones
fucking bold
cash is easy, right? We know the cash.
Yeah, see, like when you say the statement, that's what I think, like stealing. But I get it because
What are the other 2 most important things in a restaurant to manage?
money, food,
Food,
customers.
food and labor.
Okay.
Food and labor.
Clocking in early, clocking
They're
out.
gonna steal the time. Guarantee it.
Yeah, I fired 19 of my guys one day.
Ugh,
And
that's hard.
it wasn't. I wish there was a job, and I've said this for years, that I can just go in and fire people in corporations. Not in a sadistic way, but I have no problem doing it. It's business, especially if there's a reason, right? And so I had this group of guys, and they're all veterans.
Uh-huh.
All of them were unemployed when I hired them. They went from making no money, and I'm talking like these guys were clearing like $2,500 a week. I mean, overtime was unreal.
They're doing good.
And so, but the spot that we were working was super remote. So I told these guys, and I got it approved through corporate, and I was like, hey, if you guys leave between 7:30 and 8, round it to 8. You have a 30-minute drive before we're on hardball headed home. But if it's, 7:50, you're not rounding up to 8:30. And so I thought the way I would give them an extra if they left, and I had this female Air Force vet, and she ran like my numbers, and she would watch over everything. And she came to me one day. She's like, "Hey, boss, like these guys are leaving at 7, but they're marking 8 o'clock, or they're leaving at 7:15, marking 8 o'clock." And to me, that's stealing. If I'm feel as a boss, as a leader, I'm very lenient. I fought for you guys to get an extra 30 minutes of drive. I'm paying you 30 minutes of drive time, which do not have to do.
Yeah.
And so I started watching. And so instead of me being, knee-jerk reaction, you're all fired, I had a meeting. I sat everybody down. Hey, guys, I want to reiterate. These are
the rules.
Don't abuse it. If not, it goes away or you go away. And I gave it 2 weeks, and I had her pull all the numbers again, and these guys still did it. And I lined every one of them up in front. I'm talking on a construction yard, first thing, ginormous company.
Yeah.
I'm out there like fucking drill instructor, knife hand, because it was stealing to me. I mean, we added it up.
It's a real dollar amount.
Every day, and what these guys were making was not a normal minimum wage. I mean, these guys were starting at $25, $30 an hour, and the work was fuck you easy work. Like these dudes are driving around ATVs in the desert looking for tortoises and shit.
Yeah.
And you're going to try to steal from me, and so that's
You have a dream job. And
you went from unemployed to making
120,
fuck you money,
yeah.
and now you're stealing 30 minutes from me. So I get, So
well, and it's so hard because people and I think as an owner and a boss or a business owner or whatever, you have to realize that there is there's an understanding that, you're going to lose some labor, and that's not what I'm talking about. There's going to be people taking a break or this or whatever else. That's really not what I'm talking about. But the intentional ones will do, hey, buddy, I'm running late. Clock me in. Go ahead and clock me in real fast.
How often do you see this? Every day?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And it's funny because they're like, they don't see it as an issue. You own a restaurant. You're the boss. You own this company. You have this construction company. I've seen your house. I see your car. I mean, Idaho's still, and it's changing, right? But you used to drive like a Ferrari, and people wouldn't do business with you. They're like, you're ripping us off. You're ripping us off. You're charging too much. The perception is, if your success is so good, then why am I not driving that? Why am I not doing this? And I can take from you. And so the restaurant world, it's they're going to steal food. They're going to steal time. Limited cash, especially nowadays. I mean, the big cash seals are, and I caught someone the other day.
No.
We do this Bible study breakfast at Rembrandt's. It's at 6 a.m. We get there early. I think it starts at 6 or 5:30. My staff gets there early. And it's really, we don't make a ton of money at it. We just we lower the prices for them, but it's just something that we do
for the community,
right? And
you do a lot of stuff.
We get like 70 to 90 guys at Rembrandt's in the morning, right? And everybody gets a cup of coffee. That is one thing they all get. They get a cup of coffee. And I think coffee at Rembrandt's is like $2.95, which is, by the way, outrageous. I mean, but that's just the cost of coffee nowadays. But you're paying $3 for a cup of coffee. I had an employee that would give out and add up coffee. And then he would take the money for the coffee, but never ring it in. Never ring it in. So he would take, because these older guys, but if you used a credit card, he's like, now I got to ring that one in. Mm-hmm. Do it. But if you gave him cash, he'd just be like, perfect. And he would steal from us at a church Bible study, literally over time, hundreds and hundreds of dollars and thousands of dollars. And I'm like, and I finally why is it that sometimes you have 70 guys and I sell 15 cups of coffee?
Really?
And I'm like, so you just sit there and you do the math. And you're like, I'm going to lose money next week. Yeah, it's all right. But you got to catch them in the act.
How'd you catch them?
Oh, just by counting. You just count how many coffees go up and how much you ring up.
No shit.
You say, what happened? And then it's funny, they all justify, well, okay, I did it, but, I won't do it anymore.
Really? They're
cool.
Thanks for being honest with me now.
Thanks. Yeah. Oh yeah, they can't deny it, but they're like, don't worry, I won't do it anymore. Wait, you're gonna fire me? No.
It's that blatant, huh? They just feel that they can get away with it.
Well, you're rich. You own a restaurant.
You're not gonna notice.
What do you care?
Dang, that's
wild.
How often do you deal with theft? I mean, obviously every day with times and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you had anybody legitimately just?
No, I've been pretty fortunate. I haven't seen big money disappear.
That's good.
As much, not normal.
Okay.
We've had the couple deposit went missing. Weird.
Yeah.
Where did the deposit go?
Yeah.
Oh well, and it's always your manager. You just put, you put platforms and things, and again, this is why fast food and franchise are so cool, because they have a system where you sign it, you put it in, there it is, and then the next person counts it and signs it and they put it in. And it's redundant, but they're counting the tills every single time. Because in fast food, this is a trick. If you're cash, I've looked at tills, and if you see change in the far left, right, you have blank, quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies, and what they'll do is they'll be ringing things up, and for every I'm gonna get, the prices off of your head, right? Mm-hmm. You just become expert. I'm gonna have a chicken nugget and a soda. Well, it's $4.15. So they come in, they give you $4.15 or $5. You don't ring it in, or you put it in there and clear void it, whatever, and you give them the change, and all of a sudden you said, okay, I'm taking a $5. So you put a nickel right in that last stop. At the end of the shift, you got to take that money, so you count up your change, and that's how much money that you stole from the company.
Oh, really?
The bad ones are they forget to count it, and then all of a sudden your till's over. Being over is just as bad as being under in a franchise.
Interesting.
It means that you've screwed up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we've counted it in, you counted it in, we're counting it out, we counted it out together, and you're off. Mm-hmm. How are you off? Mm-hmm. This is math. Very rarely is, I gave an extra $5, or it was sticky, or whatever else. I mean, that's the first thing they go to, but really you just watch them. It's
All day,
it's
huh?
insane. And so all these companies, even though price of processing, credit card processing, is outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you lose 3% right off the top, right? Every time you do it.
Which that adds
I mean, think
up
if you're $1 million and you're giving away 3% a year,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's like, cool, thanks.
That's crazy to think.
I could have hired another employee, but nah, don't worry about it. We'll have crappy service for our fees, but we'd rather have that because we probably lose money with just cash business more than we would. I mean, it's hard to steal from a credit card.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
might
yeah,
steal from you, the consumer.
Yeah, they'll swipe your
But
card
it's,
info.
but it's hard to steal from me
Yep.
with a credit card.
So in the restaurant world, I mean, cash is obviously king because
Cash is king for
everything.
Well, the guys that don't report tax or whatever, they love cash business, right? Whatever. We won't even go into that. But for a server, they get to decide whether or not they're going. Well, they don't get to decide, but they typically decide whether or not they want to be honest about declaring their cash tips versus their non-cash tips.
Which isn't Trump coming out right now saying that servers don't have to pay? If
They're trying to make this whole thing. The danger is, where does that stop?
Okay, so let's hear this side because obviously all of these politicians, they want every little bit of leverage and.
I'm a repair guy. I work on tips.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to claim it.
I don't have to claim my income.
I mean, great for him though. Great
Yeah.
for you.
Not for you. Not for the rest of us. Mm-hmm. Because someone's got to pick up that tax. We already have that, right? We have how many people cross the border?
Yeah.
And how many of them are paying taxes?
None.
And how many of us are paying their medical bills?
All of us.
So you're just going to take the workforce, I mean, a huge workforce of servers, no longer to pay tax on it?
See, I mean, I see this is, I like this
I
point of view.
pay.
So you're against it. You think you should have
minimum
to
wage
play.
for servers is $3.35 an hour.
Damn.
I had a server make $100,000 a year.
On tips?
So making $100,000 a year, you tax free?
I mean, that's pretty awesome.
I guess I need to rethink my career choice.
Right? So, okay, so this is fascinating to
if
me.
If you're a high tipped position, and that's your income,
What about these servers, these cocktail servers in Vegas that are doing $250,000 a year?
non-taxed, I'm gonna get in shape finally.
All right.
Yeah,
Pool season.
pool season. Here we go, pool boy.
Let's go. There's got to be a dad pool
There's
somewhere,
gotta be a
right?
Dad bod pool. We got something, Dad.
Let's edit that one out. We're gonna
Yeah, we don't want anybody to know that one.
dad pool with just a bunch of
pool.
moms and C-sections. and stretch
yeah. We have to see the scar to get in.
Yes.
The two scar, this one and this one. It's
Yeah.
either one.
Lollipop or the C-section, we accept all of them. This is going to be a hit. Because think about it,
Epic.
man. With that business plan,
How much tax money are you willing to
claim.
absorb from these
Yeah.
and this is what gets me nuts. And then we're talking about I don't even know what this is about anymore. But
Welcome to the show, dude. Welcome to the show.
But you're like literally talking about a minimum wage job that now is untaxed. That's never meant. Minimum wage was never meant to provide for a family. Minimum wage says so my lovely 15-year-old with amazing people skills gets to go behind a counter, screw up, and learn how to work.
Yeah.
That's what minimum wage means. Not a deadbeat 28-year-old that can't get his life together, go back there and say, well, I want to make $20 an hour.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Do something about it.
Go get a $20 an hour job.
Go work. Minimum wage, the fact that we're changing minimum wage was never meant to be what people are yelling about. They're like, we can't live off minimum wage. Good. I hope you can't. I honestly hope you cannot live off minimum wage. Because at that point, it's no longer minimum wage. Minimum wage was designed to enter the workforce, not provide.
Fascinating.
And this is my opinion.
Yeah, but I mean,
Why not? You're telling me that my daughter needs to make $25 an hour is $52,000 a year, I think. Don't do the math. My daughter at 15 needs to make $52,000 a year, or 16.
no.
What's she gonna do with $52,000 a year? I'll tell you what she's gonna do. She's gonna have the best cameras, and filters on her Snapchat ever made. Mm-hmm. She's not going to pay rent. She ain't paying the groceries.
Not paying a phone bill.
She's not paying the phone bill. She's probably not even paying her insurance or her car payment. Maybe I'll be like, yeah, you got to pay your gas. And she'll complain. Am I wrong?
No.
But we're going to pay this person $52,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then they're going to get in college and go, I have no savings. Huh.
It's crazy
Cool.
it's crazy to think, like, hearing from your point of view about the tips and taxes, because you hear Trump and whoever, right?
We love Trump, right? Like,
I mean, but it's
Yeah.
like you hear that, and from me not being a restaurant owner or an employer,
all my employees right now are like putting in their 2 weeks. They're like, we're not working for this guy. This guy wants to tax us.
yeah, right. After this airs,
They're like, oh crap, we're
done.
This is not working.
CJ's the worst.
It's totally true too. It's a bit like, no, we can't work for CJ. He's greedy.
Yeah, right. So, God, we went down a rabbit hole on that one.
I know.
So back to
Wherever we were.
Starbucks.
You edit really well, right? I mean, like, you're make me sound smart.
He just lets them run. So you were Jack in the Box for a while and doing that whole
Yeah, I went
corporation.
Starbucks, Jack in the Box, and everything taught me different things, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
My office was out of Beaverton, Oregon. Our corporate office was in San Diego for Jack in the Box. Starbucks, I was able to travel all over.
And
And so
you end up going back to Wendy's last.
And then I ended up going back to Wendy's, and George was like, okay, I let you have your fun. Mm-hmm. You got over your pride issue of saying I'm a fast food worker. Now I'm like, I wish I was just a fast food worker, but,
Yeah.
and let's get in it. Let's do it. One of my
And what did that mean?
driving factors, well, so he said, come be a district manager for me, and let's, I'm owning the company. I want you to help me buy into I want you to buy into the company, and let's do it.
He's owning the company of Wendy's.
Mm-hmm. Of our franchise out here. Dale Nagy owns it. He's partners
Which
with
were how
Dale.
many?
They had 16. Now they were now up to 32. And he's like, just come do this. And by the way, Dale Nagy, brilliant man. George Giamatti, brilliant man. And the way they ran their business was just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at, like, basically, they taught me pretty much everything I know about restaurant P&L, right? And so they're like, come back in here, work. And I was like, gung-ho, let's do this. And I jumped back in, and I worked it.
And you were managing all of their stores?
I had 5, I think, at one time, and then I started working on different special projects and working on multiple different ones, and it was just I was learning to run a company as an owner.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
But like everything else in my life, I was always looking at what's next, which is why I had so many jobs, and by now I've left the fire department because it just was like, okay, this is definitely not what I'm supposed to do. This is natural for me. The restaurant management is natural. And I went, what's next? And I remember a guy came to me and said, I want you to be my COO or VP of operations on a new holding company that's going to build self-storage properties, Anytime Fitness, gyms, whatever else we decide to do. I want you to come do it. And I was like, my break. I was too impatient. And it's funny because fast forward to today, George Giamatti sold Wendy's, and Dale Nagy, they both sold Wendy's. And George now contracts and works with me. And he goes, you're such an idiot. All you had to do was be patient. You would have had the whole franchise. We would have done this whole thing together. And it was the biggest learning after the fact that I've ever done.
Okay, hold on.
Like,
So these guys bring you on.
I'm an idiot.
They bring you on.
Uh-huh.
They're willing. I mean, if you would have just stayed on, potentially all would have been yours. Then somebody dangled a carrot in front of you and you jump ship.
Yeah.
How long were you with the Carl's Jr. or
Wendy's?
Wendy's guys before you jump ship? The third time now?
I think it was a second time.
Okay, second time.
Second time. I don't
How
know.
long was it? A few years, or was it?
Yeah, it's like 2 years into it or
So you're 2 years in.
something.
You're
Yeah.
learning how to run all of
Yeah,
Wendy's
yeah,
franchise,
yeah.
and you get a carrot dangled in front of you, and you jump ship because that was your big break.
I'm like, that's my big break.
I mean, but how would you have known?
Everything I'm working for is for this corporate validation world, you know?
Okay.
You know, you get the big title, you get all this, and they paying you a great, I mean, they're definitely upping your salary above that, you know, and I don't, and at this time, I was looking so much that they were like, dude, you're not in it, we're going to sell. And I'm like, crap. You know, like,
Really?
I knew it right then. I'm like, I made a mistake. But
And there's no going back.
there's no going back.
You can't be like, I'm just kidding. I
You're just
want to
going
come
forward. And it's funny because we'll fast forward. We'll talk about, you know, what I was really good in the Wendy's world, which is what helped me develop what I'm developing now. And George actually recognized it even today. He's like, yeah, this fits you better because of this. But so then I jumped over, and it was called Bitterroot Holdings. It was one family, and AJ's a podcaster himself, so I'm sure he'll say this and be like, that wasn't right. But anyways,
All lies.
AJ's Osborne. He is a family company, and it was a complete LDS company because it was all their family. And I think I was the only non-LDS member. I mean, at one point, I think they put my coffee pot in my office.
Just so you didn't have to talk to them.
So just to tease me or something. So it was a different dynamic all of a sudden. I was with a very family oriented, and we're not talking like just like his dad, the CEO, was a stake president. Whatever I know a little bit, but stake president in the church, and so they are actively in the church, and so I'm like this. I feel like I'm like now I'm a fish out of water. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I took this job opportunity, and I know restaurants. You know, what do I mean, I built Wendy's. I mean, we ended up building, like I built a one in Eagle, Mountain Home. You know, I did a couple developments there, so I started learning it. But I really didn't know much about development, and that was my main job. Is we were going and we were going to build self-storage properties.
Yeah.
Cool. Why do you need a hospitality guy? And you know, we started learning everything I could about this business, and that's really where it then started clicking to me that, yes, I'm a food guy, but really it's a people business. I'm a people guy.
You are.
Like I want to manage people. I enjoy managing people. That's what fires me.
So you have this dream job, and it wasn't there for you.
I had this dream job, and man, they taught me so much. Taught me so much. I traveled all over. We had planes. We had everything. We built this company from relatively nothing to this massive, you know, hundreds of $1 million valuation company.
And how long?
5 years.
Wow.
5 years. We had and I remember we like self-storage. We'd be buying, and we were in right time, right place. Right. There's a big piece of being in the right place, right time. But AJ and I had this philosophy that really meant that the days of walking in a self-storage property and seeing someone with a half-eaten pizza and they have I don't know when stretch pants became like if I wore sweatpants everywhere, someone would tell me you need to get ready for the day. But if they wear Lululemon,
Perfectly fine.
It's perfectly fine.
Perfectly fine.
It's not fine across the board.
No.
No.
Especially with
Every once in a while, I'm like, hey, get dressed. It's okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, but that kind of feel like sweatpants, stains. You come out and you're like, you got a cigarette hanging out. What do you want in storage? Hey, what are you doing here? Well, I'm at a storage facility. What do you want? Storage.
So you guys were.
I'm confused.
You guys were changing the image of that, or is that?
We wanted to change the image of what it was like when you walk into a self-storage.
Yeah.
We wanted it to be more hospitality. We wanted it to be more service-oriented, and so we did everything from videos to like how someone would training videos, how you walk in, what does it look like. But I really adapted. Like when you walk into a restaurant, the very first thing you do is you look at the curb. What trash, fast food, what trash, what cups laying and pick it up. Then you look in the front door. You walk in the front door. You don't walk in the back door. You look in the front door. Because that's where
Everybody sees
That's
first.
where people go in. Yeah. And so you make sure it's clean, right? The windows are clean, no fingerprints. And so we did the same thing. We applied it all to self-storage.
Okay.
And we ended up getting more and more recognized, and we ended up seeing that we could be higher in price and fuller in occupancy. We can perform
Just because of that little bit of a change?
better because we are we understood, we did our homework, and we said, okay, 67% of all self-storage is decided by the woman. Okay, what does a woman want? Does she want a man behind the counter or a woman behind the counter?
Yeah, clean, tidy woman.
Yeah. The camera's up, wants to see that it's secure. You know, this is her great-grandma's stuff that we should have thrown away years ago. We're going to pay too much money to store, but we're going to do it anyways, right? We had popcorn machines in every one of them. We had, like, the whole thing, a free bottle of water, the easy things. But
And those little things change that much.
Yeah, we were in some cases 30% more than anybody else in town.
And you guys were just full.
And we were full. And when we say full, it's not full. It's, you know, you're 95% full. Because if you're 100% full,
that's full.
You're not doing your job. If I have 100% full of 5x5s, raise the price 6%, lose 3%, and have something to sell. If someone walks into your facility and you don't have something to sell, you just failed.
Interesting.
Period.
Interesting.
These people that say, I love it. I call them and I was like, hey, I need to put my trailer in a storage property. Oh, we have a wait list. Why? There's a breaking point. Raise it. Raise it. You're going to hit the ceiling and you're going to know where it's at. But guess what? Maybe it's 20% more.
Even 10% more.
You only have so many spaces. That's all you have.
Interesting.
And it's not a facility either. It's by unit. So if I have 20 by 20s that aren't renting, okay, I'm going to lower those. But I have 10 by 10s that are renting.
That are maxed out.
I'm going to make it easy for them to get in that 20 by 20s because guess what I'm going to do with 20 by 20s? Start raising those. So we quickly understood how to run this as a business, not a hobby.
Got it.
Right? How do we maximize and really understand how to run this storage company where it's not just rent it, sit it, forget it. The other thing is people, we don't give late fees. Really? I didn't only give a late fee, but I gave a fee. If I had to send you a piece of paper in the mail and you didn't give me an email, I charged you $5 extra. I think Ron would call it the stupid fee. We'd make like $11,000 a year on stupid fees because someone didn't want to give us their email address, so we charged them for letters. And the reason why we want emails is it makes our life easier. We can auction your stuff faster if you didn't pay, right?
Yep.
And so all these things, like we started understanding how to monitor and monetize our business to make the best revenue possible. Wow. Right? And in that, we created storage specialists, right, that knew what they were talking about. How do you answer a question? It's just like anything else. It's the same principles on everything you're doing. How do you meet the customer and react to them what they need? That's all that serving is, restaurant is. I mean, it's how do I sell you something or meet you where you're at? And so
you then we did break all this down.
And we started doing this, and we started growing, and then people would want us to come and speak in seminars and this and that, and it was just kind of like that was the first time I really thought I'm a fraud.
Really?
Yeah, I have no. We're talking to guys with PhDs and doctorates, and I'm like, and we're in this meeting, and I'm like, I had a GED, dude. I have nothing. Like, I am a nobody. Like, I don't know what you want from me. And so
those are the best flexes, though. Like when you like.
But I'm like trying to teach this. I'm like, I wouldn't listen to me though.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. This is what I'm doing.
Still figuring.
See if it works.
Still figuring it out.
And it really was part of AJ and I. We kind of just led this to creating these things, and now AJ has a number of books out, which I've never got a royalty, by the way, AJ. Like, if he's listening right now, royalty's here too. No,
you're welcome.
It was his book. But he is writing the standard for self-storage properties.
Interesting.
Because it is like anything else, you have to manage your business.
And those things just print money.
And you know what the best model is? Airplanes. Your ticket. You buy a ticket early, you're going to get a good price. You're going to wait, it's going to go up. Have the same model as self-storage. Easy, and then it goes up. The more demand, the higher. I mean, it's simple. Airlines have been doing it forever. There's even hotels do the same thing, right?
Last minute, yep.
Last minute. Now the last minute on hotels is kind of funny because now you get the cheapest. Like we just want someone in here. Hotwire, like I want to capitalize on the worst deal possible.
Yep.
Yeah, you're like, here you go. But it was, and that's how we kind of did that, and that just created like I said, it kind of snapped to me that it really doesn't matter what I'm doing. My passion for managing people and business far outweigh anything else. Mm-hmm. That's what I like doing. That's what I would call what I do for a living. And that was what was fun for me.
Yeah.
And so then we developed this gyms in Florida. In fact, I was in Naples, Florida for quite a long time.
Isn't Naples like the millionaire capital of the U.S. or used to be?
Used to be. I think that it's changed now, but I think it was the highest populated. I think billionaires than anywhere else.
Yeah,
per capita.
Like,
or
there's
something.
a lot of rich.
It was like per capita. Yeah. But so we called it the Christian side. So on the Gulf side, we had the franchise territories for the entire side, and we did that because of my franchise experience and stuff like that. And all in all, I think they ended up selling that off after I left. But it was a good experience. Mm-hmm. And so, we did all this stuff, and I realized I want to do this for myself.
Okay.
Like I want to do this. I'm always going to think what's next if I don't do it for me.
For sure.
Right?
For sure. Because once you...
Are we good on time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because once you're watching what you're making. And if you're growing this storage facility, if you're doing hundreds of millions, and I'm sure you had a nice salary on it and maybe some bonuses, but at what point you got to the point where you're just like, I can do this for myself.
Well, and the crazy part is I learned how to leverage better in self-storage.
Okay.
There's two ways to grow, right? You get the money, you pay it down, or you leverage, especially when pricing. I remember when you're getting loans for like 2.3. Like... That's free money. Let's do it. Or we buy a facility and we understood that there was a cell tower on it. And then how many times we could resell the space on that cell tower, right? And then we'd end up buying more and more. And then we had a ground lease. And then we sold the ground lease after we sold all the space on the cell tower. So we ended up, that one cell tower paid for half the facility we just bought, right? And so it's like you start learning how to really maximize and leverage what you have. And yeah, I was never I never looked at the guys, my team, because they gave me, I learned, I went to school, I have the best degree possible made, someone else paid for it, I made mistakes, they paid for that, right? I made more mistakes, they paid more money for that, and then I made really great success and they reaped the benefits. That's okay because I learned and I understood, okay, now where I'm going. So forever grateful for that experience, but understood there is a line. Again, whether or not I would have stayed and it would have been a way different experience, they're still around today. They're doing great. In fact, they went to a funding model where they actually bring in and they've created like a little REIT for themselves, and they're doing even more. They took a $150 million company to whatever it is now, 300 million, whatever it is now, and the money made in self-storage, and this is what I think people get wrong a lot, is yearly. Yeah, you make some good money, but that's not where the money's made in self-storage. The annuity you're putting in your property and the value of the property is where you're making your money.
Okay.
Right? You're making more and more money every year on that property developing and creating. And then we always had the add to properties, right? So we bought 10 acres, but 5 of it was full. So you fill the 5 and then you have it pay for itself. And then all of a sudden you have this facility that the facility paid for itself and it's worth, tens of millions of dollars now instead of, whatever it would have been with your debt on it and what you're going to bring out to it. So it was a way to just really capitalize on how you can make different dollar amounts.
Yes.
And there's always there's always a breaking point either way. I have a buddy that sold his business and he has some amazing properties and all of it's paid for and he doesn't have a single payment and he sleeps really, really well. But just the other day we were talking, he's like, man, if I would have leveraged, even 30% of my properties. I would have more properties paying for more money. I'd be making more money in, and it was at 3.5%. Right? And so it's just how you want to do it and what risk you want to take on.
So during this time, in jumping from Starbucks to Wendy's to Jack in the Box, the storage units, you're learning.
Yeah, I'm just learning.
So many skills. I mean, the people skills, the networking. How important is networking?
You know, it is honestly like when you will never. It is hard to force your way into a market. Mm-hmm. Very hard.
Okay.
It is really easy to be welcomed into a market.
Explain.
When you know the right people and when the right people know you, and I'm looking for self-storage, I'm all of a sudden getting 4 to 5 deals a day, right? They know that you know how to do it. They're calling you and saying, hey, will you help me with this self-storage property? Entitlement's probably the best way. If you're an expert in entitlement, meaning taking a property from one zoning to another zoning or how to get what you want to do on your own property, if you become an expert at it, you become gold. Because everybody with a dream of building something like, oh, I'm and it's the idea, I want to build a self-storage property because it makes a ton of cash. So you buy this property and you're like, oh crap, it's not zoned for it.
Yeah.
How do I do that? Well, you gotta go find someone that does it. So then you become known in that field, and so now you got people coming after you. And so there's your networking. You start being welcomed into like, dude, do you want a piece of this? I can't really afford this. Let's go into here. You have this opportunity. So being in that community and what you're doing gives you the most opportunity for investment or breaking down something.
So the more hands you shake, the more money you make.
Yeah, I mean, in general. If you can execute.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people that know a lot of people.
Can't execute.
And are still looking for them to do the work. You still have to bring something to the table.
For sure.
Right? You have to have some unique
skill or trade
proposition to say this is what I bring to the table.
Once you finished up with the storage units and learning, I mean, just how to leverage and network in everything you had, you're coming to the point in your life where like, I can do this for myself.
Yeah, or I'm gonna go broke trying, right? I mean, there's a certain amount of fear to say, okay, I'm gonna go into this. And at this time, remember I worked for Rembrandt's, helped them open it in 2004. It's 2015 now, and they're wanting out. They're like, dude, business. I mean, running restaurants suck. Like, why would anybody want to do this? And they're like, we did this for this reason, and it's kind of passed, and we're just ready to get out. Yeah. So they were asking me over and over. Now, do you think that that you'd ever be interested in buying Rembrandt's? And I was like, right away, I'm like, no. I don't know. My thought was, I'm going to go build self-storage properties by myself.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, okay.
So I thought, literally, I want to go do the self-storage. If I'm going to do it on my own, I'm going to start creating this. And I had a good relationship with the AJ and all the previous guys. And our storage name was Key Lock Storage, still around. But to do some stuff on my own and maybe bring them in as partners, whatever else. But they kind of bugging me like, hey, what do you think about Rembrandt's? Hey, I'll give you a good deal. And I'm like, well, I do miss the restaurant world.
Really?
I do, and whether or not it was the best choice of my life at that point or not, as a father of young children, and for some reason I'm like, all right, let's do it. A kid that I grew up with in church off and on, his dad was an accountant, and he was a partner at Deloitte, and they have mandatory retirement. And so, 62, they have mandatory retirement. He's like, I need to go do something else. So he said, I always had a dream about opening a restaurant. What do you think we go on 50-50? I'm like, oh, well, it's a lot easier to swallow the risk if I do this.
Right.
Let's do it. Right. And so, left Bitterroot and Keelock. They treated me very, very nice, and we had, and it's like, okay, let's get into it. Let's go. And so in 2015 is when I bought Rembrandt's and thought, I'm going to remodel.
Okay.
But I'm only going to put $400,000 into it. That's it.
Which is a chunk of cash.
It was a church built in 1896.
So once you started peeling layers apart.
I peeled up the floor, and there was knob and tube wiring all the way around, and then it would, like, where you could see, go back into coax, and then split back out.
So none of it made any sense.
No. Well, what you're doing is you're just trying to keep it from being, like, all the inspectors would only see this much coax. And like, oh, that's legal, never mind. But knob and tube's not legal. So it'd be like, oh, yeah, that's good. And then it'd go back out, and they're like, oh, no, it's not any good anymore, actually. And it would go back in. I wouldn't be surprised, I can't believe I'm saying this, I wouldn't be surprised if there's not knob and tube wiring still working in that building.
No shit.
I would not be surprised. It is such an old building. But I started tearing back. You wouldn't believe, I mean, I have no customers. You wouldn't believe the amount of rat homes in this restaurant.
Really?
When I was tearing it apart. I mean, just packed.
Did you guys gut the whole thing?
So I'm like, well, I can't leave that. So let's pull this up. We found petrified cats, dead. I mean, everything you could think of. It was like, there was mouse shit everywhere. It was everywhere.
And this is after you bought it.
This is after I bought it. It was running as a restaurant still.
Oh, God.
Still, and I'm like, the ducting for the place was still wood ducting.
Uh-huh.
Like nothing. It was just wood, and it was covered in just, I mean, obviously dust and crap and everything, but bugs and dead rats, and we were basically like throwing air through this thing, igniting the entire area with rotting flesh animals.
You're like, this is great.
I found the baptism. The baptism's still in there. There was a dead cat in the baptism. I'm like, the neighbor. So the story is the neighbor was kind of like, her whole family, her dad started Orville Jackson back in the day. Her name is Sherry Sharp, and she's lived there forever. And she's like, she was one of those, she would go out and she's 80 years old, and she'd take feed, and she'd feed all of her cats and all of the ducks and and anything else that wanted.
Is this that house next door?
The Tudor house next door.
Okay.
Yeah. And it would just, and she would feed, and it was just covered, and then the animals would go, and they'd find different places to live. Well, it didn't help that it was a stack stone foundation. Yeah, we bought as is. In hindsight, we probably should have done an inspection, but as is. And we found out that the sandstone foundation was deteriorating.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I had to like brace the entire building, jack it up, and pour a new foundation.
foundation.
But there was huge holes where these mice and snakes and cats and everything else, they were just going back and forth living, and it was just their home. It was their habitat. This is a restaurant.
Are you just doing all, and you're just...
And I'm just like... Self-storage sounds fun. What are we doing? And I remember calling Dale, because he's still living in Denver at the time. I'm like, guess what I found? You'll never guess what we're gonna do. We gotta put new foundation on the building. He's like, new foundation? I'm like, yeah, it's weird. But what they're gonna do is they're gonna hydraulic jack up it, and we're gonna put a new foundation. We're gonna set the building back on it. He's like, well, that sounds cheap. Let's do that. I'm like, sounds good.
So this $400,000 turned into what, real quick?
1.5, real fast. Yeah.
No.
Everything from new wiring.
I mean, it's beautiful.
New flooring.
It's beautiful.
When people would come in, and it was so funny because we destroyed Rembrandt's.
Do you have old photos and everything of this?
Yeah, okay. We have, and in fact, you can even Google Rembrandt's Coffee House, and you'll see it. But it is people like they had these hanging. So like I said, they sold a company for. I mean, they made hundreds of millions of dollars, right? The previous, and so they had real Salvador Dali paintings on the wall before in the restaurant, and Peter Maxwell and Tarkais, and they had a Rembrandt's, and they had all this high millions and millions of dollars worth of art hanging on this wall with no security system and a single pane windows everywhere, right? I mean, they were old original windows, and they had these stained glass things that they went to some church out of London or something and got, and they hung them in front of them, and it was a project, right? And so I bought it, and I don't have millions of dollars to put in artwork. They're like, well, do you want to buy that artwork? I'm like, no, I don't want to buy your artwork. I can't afford your artwork. I want to own a restaurant, not an art museum. And so I took away the Venetian orange and the velvet reds and these little stained glass pieces and the big velvet curtains and all the artwork was gone, and I got roasted.
Really?
You Californian developer, you came up here and ruined us.
Oh, you know, in the early days of that.
They wanted, and I'm like, I'm not even from California. I'm from here. I probably lived here longer than you have. Like this, like I got drunk at the fire station, learned how to drive 14 with a fire truck. Like, come on. Like,
And now you're getting accused of changing items.
Now I'm making this, Bay Area restaurant, and it's so funny because they're like, we missed the couch. I'm like, of course you missed the couch. Why? I just give you about $3.50 cup of coffee, and you stood here the whole time doing your work
all morning,
and that's why they're not here.
Yep.
It's like, of course you missed a free area to go.
Is that a tough decision to make, knowing, I don't know if you knew then, but knowing I'm going to change the aesthetics of this restaurant? Is that, I mean, are you nervous by doing that, by the backlash? Yeah. I mean, because...
Well, part of buying a restaurant is buying the business, right? But we're buying a business that really we're going to destroy, like we're going to change completely.
I
mean, it's just not going to be the same thing.
You're just buying the building.
And probably one of the biggest, I mean, the problem with name change, and this is where marketing comes in, and I'm not a marketer. I do not even claim to be able to market myself, nothing. But we're sitting here thinking we should change the name. We should change the name of Rembrandt's. But it's been Rembrandt's for 20 years. Like, now we're just going to be the place that was called Rembrandt's that's now called whatever. So
let's go to that place. Where was that?
Yeah, Old Rembrandt's. And I was like, well, that doesn't work. So I was just trying to figure out, like, remember I told you at the beginning of this, if we were on, that if you make a customer think, you already failed.
Explain this for people listening.
If I decide to go into, I'm going in there and it says Rembrandt's Coffee House. I walk in and it's now polished marble and I'm seating you and you're ordering from a menu. Well, Rembrandt's was walk up to the counter, don't get a splinter on the floor, go sit in a couch that's about 20 years old, and don't put your hand in the crack, right? But it worked, right? It wasn't, but it was good. It was that's what worked, and so all of a sudden they had to then rethink about where they're at and why they're there, and their expectations were missed, and then it doesn't matter. You failed. Nobody. It's like one of the best analogies I heard actually yesterday was, I'm a really good jazz artist. And so I put a new album out that's reggae. And so all my people go out and they buy my jazz album, which is now reggae. And if it's new, they're going to turn it off so fast and throw it out. If this is where I kind of got like the little sliver of, okay, maybe I can capture them. Well, they like my jazz stuff. So maybe I can get them through at least one song.
Just a slight.
And see if they like what I'm doing now, right? And so Rembrandt's was such a staple in the community that, I mean, I still have emails. I would get, and reviews. Oh, gosh, the reviews. Oh, they came in with floods. This place sucks. You ruined it. You're what's wrong with Idaho? You should go back to California. I mean, my business partner was born in he's 62 years old. He was born at St. Luke's and lived in North End, Boise. Like, longer before any of these people. Like, he remembered, I tell him horse and carriage, but I mean, he's been here forever.
Eagle was a dirt road,
Eagle was nothing. Yep. And so we're getting called out to be these California investors and everything else. And I'm like, okay, well, here we are. And so I was like, we just got to hold. And that was probably the most challenging. I had to be, and this is where you start questioning yourself. Am I doing what's right? Am I doing, like you said, so when I first started, I got so worried. And at the very beginning of Rembrandt's, I used to walk up to the counter during the day. And then at night, I turned it into this more of a fancy, sit down service.
Okay.
And again, I've confused our customers so much. You know, they're like, what is going on?
Okay.
So the first year of Rembrandt's being open, although probably some of my best food that I produced there and some, you know, great times. I had the best, you know, I had a great wine selection. I had a wine smell. I didn't have a liquor license at this point. And I was just starting out. I'm winging it. Like, I'm just going to throw it at the wall and see what sticks, right?
Yeah.
And I had this big pastry case, and then I realized I don't want people buying only pastries. I want them buying food because it's where the money, you know, you want the dollar amount.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm maneuvering, and I've got a base clientele that wants to buy a cup of coffee, sit there, have a meeting with 3 or 4 people, and their whole tab on that table might be $20
For a couple hours.
for a couple hours.
Which sucks.
And I'm like, no. And so then I got even more, like, then people started getting even more mad at me. I'm like, dude, we got to do something. We got to push those people out. Like, we got to figure out a way where it's uncomfortable to just sit there for hours on end.
How do you do that?
You change the culture of the place, which is hard because now you're really thinking I should have changed the name, but now I can't change the name. I committed, and so I took out the first step I did was, okay, we're gonna make this a full breakfast, right? Mm-hmm. We're gonna do a full breakfast, and we were doing full breakfast anyways, but now it's gonna be full service. Take away the cash register at the front, and or do the cash register only for takeouts. But if you want a seat, we'll seat you and you'll get full. So now we're doing both. Now we have a cash register up front, and we're seating you and taking your order. And now we've confused them even more. They're like, they come in and they're like, yeah, I don't know. And so it evolved over and over where now I have a bar when you walk in to sit down and eat at. Mm-hmm. And I no longer even have pastries. And we're a full service restaurant from the time we wake up to the time we close. And we seat you. You know, you're not just picking a table anymore. Yeah. We're actually seating you. So we have hosts, which it just evolved into what makes the most sense for the space and what makes sense for the business. And then all of a sudden, that's when we started thriving.
Really?
We were able.
How many years in before you were like, oh shit, okay?
Like 2 years. I mean, a year and a half in. The first year was rough. We're spending money.
Oh yeah.
We're
hemorrhaging
money, and we're trying to figure this out. And we look good. People all want to be us. Like the comment of looking good, losing $250 a year is a true statement. It happens. Mm-hmm. And then we start changing the culture, and then people start coming in, and now we're even more busy. And we have and the power of marketing, right? Because now we have videos made, and we have this Instagram feed, and we have, you know, magazines that are coming out, and all of a sudden, everything they're doing now looks like we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right? And now we're looking like we're making way more money, right? And it's just the perception of everybody. But the key is you need that perception as well. Nobody wants to go eat somewhere where they feel like it's dying.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They want to go eat somewhere or be somewhere. They don't want to be somewhere where it's not the hit place.
For sure.
So you need that perception of like we're rocking it, we're doing this. Even if you're not, you got to like embrace
fake
it.
it till you make it.
Yeah, fake it till you make it. Right? That's where I think
that's the story of my life.
Yeah, fake it till mine too. And here we are.
Here we are.
2 losers at mics, and we have Chris.
We got Chris. Chris is like, don't leave me out.
Yeah, we don't even.
Yeah.
And so then you start really realizing, okay, how do you meet the customer? What does the customer want? But before that, what do you want to provide? Like, what is the need that you see that you're going to fix?
Yep.
You know, what niche? You know, for me, it was a great place for breakfast and brunch.
It really is. I mean,
that's what and we do dinner now, but breakfast and lunch is our prime and butter. Yeah, and it's full, and we are the real estate mecca. Like, it helped that we were, you know, Eaglefornia was really taking off right now, right? I mean, It was just legacy was starting to build. We had all these other things building up, and we had my clientele. Probably 70% of everybody that walked in was with the real estate agent. So it became a real estate heaven. They would bring their clients from California because it kind of looked like something from the Bay Area, and they'd come in there and they'd sit down and they'd like see a little piece of home that's clean, it's refreshed, it's we have avocado toast back when avocado toast wasn't really all that cool, but really
That's
cool
why
in California.
That's why you were getting crucified. You brought avocado toast to the valley, and
gosh.
and the ranchers
I wish you
lost
gave
their
me that much
shit.
credit, but I'm sure it wasn't the case. But people were like, "Wait, so you take avocado and you put it on toast and you charge me $12?" Yeah.
Some ranchers like,
Yeah, but you know what I did? I put a little bit of arugula on it, and then I put some Coita cheese on it.
boom.
Yeah, it made it better.
There you go.
Yeah, you're like, okay, cool. So you're ripping me off. Yeah, but these guys love it.
Yep.
And so, so we started becoming this place, and which became more pictures, and then people would bring their families in and things, and then it just kind of just took off, right? But you'd still have people come in and go, I can't believe you replaced the windows. You're like, huh. You're like, those windows are single pane right now. You're right. I replaced the windows, went and found the crappiest windows I could possibly put in, but those are original windows. They would argue with me. No, they're not. The windows that were in there are stained glass. I'm like, I can assure you, if I replaced those windows, they would not look like single pane. And I literally, we just sealed up where they opened so that, I'm like, I promise you they weren't sealed.
So people were arguing with
they
you
would argue
on
all the
everything.
time. And they would be like, I was here, this is like 3 years in. I was here last year and this was, you've changed everything. I'm like, you've been away a while.
It's been more than
it's
three.
been more than 3. No, it hasn't. And they would argue with me all day long. You don't know what you're talking about. I said, you're right. But can I get you a cup of coffee? Like, what do you want?
Customer's always right.
Yeah, like, you know what? Yeah, it was. And then we just started, like, just laughing about it. Yeah, it's just a little bit ago. It's like, now we still get people coming in. We had someone come in, I kid you not, last week. He walked up, he stood at the counter. He's like, there's a bar top right when you walk in.
Yeah.
He's standing there. He goes, wow, when do you guys take out the register? I'm like, dude.
15 years, 11 years ago.
Yeah. Like, you haven't been here for over 8 years, I promise you. He's like, no, I've been here. I'm like, well, we haven't had a register in a long time. But,
Oh, shit.
But come on. And it's just,
Come on in. We're
like,
better
come on
now.
in. Yeah, we're better. And so then you got to just learn how to, and we're simple. Like, we're simple elegance. Like, our favorite way to describe our food is comfort elegance, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get a great looking chicken fried steak. Mm-hmm. But we're going to use real ingredients. We're going to do that. So that was kind of like how the birth of Rembrandt's worked. And we just started thinking, if we can do this, what's next?
And what was next for you?
Kachi.
Kachi.
Kachi was my...
By the way, thank God. You already know you brought the octopus back.
I know, and I brought it back the right way.
I bitched.
You complained so much.
Every time I saw you for months, that's all I bitched. That's my favorite thing on that whole. I mean, you have some really good shit on that menu, but like the octopus and the way it was crisped and charred.
Before we were like boiling, it was like, oh, cool.
Yeah. I was like, we're
I
done
got
with this
mush.
place. We're done with this place. It's
We ain't
dead to
coming
me.
back ever.
So Kachi's, I mean, it's got a Sicilian.
So my last name is named Cacioppo. My dad's full-blooded Sicilian, right? But the worst Italian I've ever met. Like, won't eat tomatoes, doesn't eat salad. I mean, he won't eat octopus for sure. Like,
really?
Yeah, no. It's like, he ordered off the kid menu last time he was in there. I'm like, Dad, spaghetti and meatballs? Really? Like
my life savings, all my hard work, and you're ordering spaghetti and meatballs.
Literally, they're like delivering it, like, and spaghetti. There's no other kid. I'm like, yeah, my dad's right there.
Oh God.
He's coming back around. He'll be in diapers soon. Don't worry.
Yeah, right. It's regressing. It's that chapter in life where you start going downhill.
Oh gosh.
So Kachi's, I mean, that's another very beautiful restaurant. I mean,
What
very
I
well
wanted
done on
was
it.
to create something that you could put on the coastline in Sicily. Mm-hmm. Like, my vision for it was to design something that you could pick up if it worked. Again, I'm
Not
a big
knowing.
fraud, right? I'm here. I'm like, oh, let's throw this out here, see if this works, right? And put it on the coast of Sicily and say it fits, right? That's kind of what my vision was. And maybe the romantic vision of it, like maybe not real Sicily, but what I feel like it should be,
Yeah.
vibey, and so we created this restaurant with big doors that open up to right now a blank field and a road, and lets a trillion of flies in, which is just brilliant. But we live in Idaho. That's what happens. And so, but we did this anyways, and we put a lounge area out. We built a bar that, and again, you do this, and now you're learning as you go. Like my next kachi will have a similar vibe, but will be designed where a customer won't be able to see, probably 100% different. So you'll still go in there and feel like, oh, this is kachi.
So you're not going to have like the wood fire oven?
Oh,
and
you still have all that. Yep,
Okay.
yep, all that. And that would be like what kachi brand is wood fired Sicilian grill, right? So you're going to have 100% wood fired. You're going to see the wood. You're going to you're going to feel the heat from the kitchen. You're going to see an open kitchen. You're going to see,
Which I love, an open kitchen.
The bar, But the way that we design it, the way we put it, the way that we, integrate it, you're not going to walk through part of the restaurant to go to the bar. The bar's going to be in front. The bar's going to be, you're going to walk basically through the side of the bar to get to the regular restaurant.
Got it.
If I rebuilt Kachis right now, you would have way more bar and way less tables.
Why?
Because that's where people hang out. That's the whole vibey piece that you wanted, right? So I built Kachis in 2,800 square feet. So we're 2,850 square feet. And when I took the space, again, listening to some of my old mentors and the people that they're like, lease will kill you. This is the first build. I think I was the first one to pay over $30 a square foot in Eagle, Idaho for a restaurant space.
Really?
And I was like, oh my goodness, here we go. I mean, this is before Crave opened, right? This is before Coins. Bardney was there. We had a restaurant called Bella Kia that was a old Italian restaurant, which is, by the way, there's going to be a new restaurant that opens up there called Pig Latin. It has the #1 best patio in the whole valley. I will promise you that. Even from, it's just the way that it's put up, the river, it has the best patio, definitely in Eagle. But it's coming back. But we didn't have a lot of options when we built Kachis, right? There wasn't this run, the tequila Spitfire Taco wasn't out.
So you were one of the OGs down there.
We were like, okay, let's put a restaurant because we need another restaurant, right? And so and I wanted it to be different. Everybody does an Italian restaurant. And what's on an Italian restaurant? You have lasagna, chicken parmesan, and we already had a great one, Da Vinci's in downtown Eagle, right? That's an OG spot, right? That is like it's the classic Italian restaurant.
Very classic.
And really, really good pours, right? It's bar first, and no, but they do a great job. It's classic Italian.
Yep.
And I didn't want classic Italian. I don't want, really with, like, I don't even remember what diet trend was out that time. Maybe it was gluten-free. Maybe it was, who knows what it was. There's always some diet trend that's going on. Obviously, I don't diet at all. But there was some trend going on, and I was looking at it. I'm like, I want to make a 100% fresh to mouth food for my customers and influence on the whole ingredients, like real vegetables, real seafood, real steaks. How do we do this with just bringing more? And those were the entree pieces. And then, they're like, well, you got to do pizza. So I did pizzas. And then we did these great pastas, but all pastas were handmade. Pizzas were handmade, And so it created this whole idea where everything in that restaurant, I have a single door freezer, a double door freezer, a small one, that if you open the doors today, you'll see gnocchi, because when you make gnocchi, the first thing you do is freeze it. It just cooks better, right? So that's we still hand make gnocchi, and then we freeze it to chill it down. But you will see ice cream, some chef's food, just for them, whatever they want to eat.
Yeah.
And some meat that we're making for stock. But that's it. Everything else is in my cooler.
Really? That fresh, huh?
This restaurant, I don't even own a microwave in. There is no microwave in the entire restaurant.
I feel like that's how every restaurant should be.
But I promise you it's not.
I feel like most places microwave it.
They have microwaves. I can't even say that true about Rembrandt's.
Yeah.
Because, it's an infection oven, but it's a microwave.
Yeah.
We don't even have that. Like, this is a non-microwave place. And so everything is handmade. Everything's hand-rolled. There's nothing that we buy that's processed that we don't actually make. Mayo, for example. We don't buy mayo. We make mayo for our aiolis. Like, we just went to the whole expense to create a space that makes real food. And so that was kind of my drive on this place.
Yeah.
Now, we were not gluten-free, right? We're not this. We have some gluten. The only thing that, like, I brought in some gluten-free noodles because I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to make anybody sick. But other than that, it is what it is. You're not going to get anything else. Whatever we can make, we're going to do. And so that was the restaurant design. And then I wanted the show, so I put the kitchen in there that was open and customers and, and the live fires shooting up the back wall. And it's just kind of a cool, it became quickly like this cool little hangout place.
Yeah.
In fact, like year 2, and I opened that one again with no liquor license. I'm naive. I'm like, I don't need liquor. I thought my food was going to just thrive it, which is why my bar's not twice as big.
Yeah.
But I still had...
You built it off of the food restaurant side, not the bar.
And when I still put like the big roll-up doors on the bar, but I had like beer and wine.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Nobody's coming to party over beer and wine.
1 year into it, a full year, I still didn't have a liquor license.
How hard is it to get a liquor license?
So they were extremely expensive.
I've always heard that. Like, if we lose our liquor license, we're done.
Well, yeah. I mean, we ended up buying a liquor license for $250,000.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's what it costs to buy a liquor.
Well, and today, the new rules have changed all of that. Right now, liquor license can no longer be sold unless you've had it, like you had one of the old ones. So I can still sell mine one time, but then I can't sell it again. Basically, the state said, we're going to take this thing that you considered property, real property, and we're going to make it worthless. So before I could buy 5 liquor licenses, I'd have to season them. Then I'd lease them to these other restaurateurs, and they would lease them back. And so I would have a revenue, right? That's how they did it. So then it became like some dentist from, a bunch of dentists in Twin Falls had like 5 liquor licenses throughout the Treasure Valley. They didn't have anything to do with restaurants. They just said, I want to go into real estate. I can do this. This still makes it. They're leasing it. And sometimes you're leasing it for, $2,000, $2,500 a month on this piece of paper that I got from the state for maybe $2,500.
This says this states that you can sell liquor.
You can sell liquor. Yeah, state.
So dudes are slinging liquor licenses at one point. I mean, that's
what I think. And so the state's like, well, we got to stop it. But now you got guys that have bought liquor license, like me, for $250,000, and there's some that bought them for $500,000, and they've bought multiples. And basically, the state goes, by the way, not a big deal. It's worthless. You can't lease it anymore. You're like, wait.
So you forced me to buy this.
Well, and the crazy part is now if I get a liquor license issued by the state and I open a restaurant and I sell my restaurant, the way that it was originally written is that I couldn't sell my liquor license with my restaurant.
So that new restaurant owner would have to get his own.
If he can get one. Because they only put them out per capita, right?
So just
per city.
So just because I've started a liquor or a restaurant doesn't mean I can get a liquor license.
Yeah, no.
Is this just for Idaho or is this everywhere?
No, this is Idaho. This is Idaho. This is Idaho state-run liquor.
So they're just trying to monitor.
ISP. Yep. Well, we were kind of created by the church, right? Mm-hmm. These are old. I mean, when I first got my first liquor license in Eagle for Rembrandt's, because I put one at Rembrandt's first for the Bloody Marys and all that.
Yep.
The rule stated in the bylaws that you couldn't actually sell liquor on Sundays. It's still in the law, in the Eagle Code. Barney was selling liquor on Sundays, as far as I can remember. Like, they didn't care. They just did it. Well, I was like, well, wait, I can't do this. I got to go to so I went through the process of going to the council, having them change it, getting this rule revoked, getting it put in so that I can legally sell liquor on Sundays. In Eagle. That's how bad the rules are, right? And so you just have all this, these old rules about these liquor license, and nobody really knows everything. And you have two options. You just kind of do whatever you do and risk that someone comes in.
Yep.
But if you piss someone off, they come in here and they read the riot book to you, they take your liquor license, you're done. I added liquor to Kachi, and I am almost 48% liquor.
Is your revenue?
Uh-huh.
Really?
drinks. Now think about that. If I can't sell that liquor license with my restaurant, then my restaurant's worth 40% of the valuation that I have today. It gets worse. Because you're assuming that 48% of liquor it sells, that people that don't buy liquor, I mean, we have some friends in common.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they would know what to do if they walked into a restaurant that didn't sell liquor.
100%.
They wouldn't go back.
No.
So now all my
that's why
food
we
sales,
go to all of your restaurants.
That's why my food sales then would go down another 25%.
Yeah.
So I would be selling my restaurant for 25% of its value.
Damn.
In
All
hopes that
because of
someone
these-
buys it because they get, and they've adjusted that rule a little bit, but there's still a lot of like, what if I move location? What if my lease is up or the building's dilapidated and I need to move my liquor license down the road with another restaurant? Well, sorry, that's unacceptable.
So what I've gained from all of this is absolutely fuck being a restaurant owner.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, right. So with Caci's, which obviously the family we're always eating at Caci's, but so you had that Mediterranean place at the end,
Yeah, tzatziki's.
Tzatziki's. How was that? It was different, but
So
you guys are still Mediterranean, Italian-ish in a way. You have fresh.
yeah, we're both fresh. That was quick service. We were full service, right? That's the difference. We had liquor. They had beer and wine.
Yep. And they came in obviously after you.
They came in, after. I want to say after. It's all blurry, but I think so. One of the major issues, this is where it comes down to, is less about what you're selling, but how you're selling it.
Okay. Because I feel like we would bounce back and forth.
Oh yeah, it was good food. Mm-hmm. When you walked in there, where did you order?
The steak and shrimp salad.
Where did you order?
Oh, where?
Yeah.
You had to walk all the way to the end. You had to walk through the whole restaurant.
And how did you know it was on the menu?
You had to sit and look, I guess.
There was no menu boards.
No.
They gave you a piece of paper, and you had to open it like this. It
Like a
wasn't
brochure.
user-friendly.
Yeah.
It wasn't like intuitive.
That
it was
little bit can make a
hard
difference, huh?
to get in, and you confused your customer. Now they did a great job with, and I think honestly, I think it would have worked. They ended up building one downtown, and then COVID hit, and COVID killed the one downtown. And I believe that they probably still be an Eagle if they didn't build the one downtown, because I think a lot of resources went to downtown to try to provide for running two. And a lot of people, they open two locations because they think it's better, but they end up splitting themselves in half and they don't do anything well.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of restaurateurs make is they have to do everything themselves. You have to watch everything. Yeah. No one's going to watch your money like you. Get it?
100%.
But you can't if your restaurant's based around, if you go to Caci's because you want to see CJ, then I always have to be at Caci's. Mm-hmm. Right? But if you go to Caci's because you find a great staff that serves consistently, that has a good vibe, and the food is consistent, then you go there repeatedly, and it doesn't matter. Every time can be a good experience. Mm-hmm. And I think that some restaurateurs, they think, oh, well, I'm doing such good here. And I did it to myself, right? Rembrandt's, people like me. Caci's became CJ. Mm-hmm. So I had to quickly readjust and say, okay, how do I get myself out of this? Because I want to build more.
So what'd you have to
I want
do?
to do more. And I think it was, you redefine what was important in the restaurant. Okay. It wasn't me. It wasn't even the chef. It was the experience, right? What did Caci offer that you couldn't get anywhere? This vibey.
Yep. Wood fire. The heat, everything. The
Everything,
smell. I
right?
mean, you walk in there and the smell is, you could blindfold me and walk in. I'd know exactly where we were just by the smell of that restaurant.
Well, and yeah, I totally agree. And I think that what happened was my staff became elevated. I honestly believe that we have some of the best staff members there. And it became elevated to the point where the experience of that became so consistent that even if the food wasn't always on, that you felt like you were a good place. The bar was good.
A lot of your staff have been there there's a lot of faces that have been there for a long time, I feel like.
Yeah, well, the problem is they make too much money. But we should untax that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a great idea.
Yeah, right. You have a lot of staff that's been there. And for me as a consumer, I look for that. especially we're frequent flyers, you know,
Yeah.
we're there, not a lot, but I mean, we eat there enough where it's a lot of the same. I mean, there's one waitress that's, I feel like she's been there, served us the very first time I've ever been.
There is some servers there that have been there since the very beginning. And that place has only been up 5 years now, but 5 years for a serving career?
It's a
It's
long
like
time.
a
And that's got to
a
tell
career.
you something as a business owner that if you have a server that's been with you for that long, one, they're being taken care of, and two, they love the environment that they're in.
Yeah. And it hasn't been the same, but they've grown in it. Right?
sure.
And we made the changes that were positive to be like, okay, we like it here.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that we have some of the best customers
Yeah.
that make it exciting to be there. I mean, you've been in there and you see the same people.
Yeah.
We are, it's, you know, everybody says we're Cheers. Yeah, we can be Cheers. I want to be Kachi's.
Yeah.
I don't want to be Cheers. I want to be Kachi's.
Fuck Cheers.
You know, we actually, some guy brought up this thing and he goes, dude, this is a country club. Like Kachi Country Club. So we had shirts and cups made. So we have Kachi Country Club shirts. And people are like, they're super confused. They're like, wait, you own a golf course? No, I don't. We just want you to feel like this is your place. And whatever that is for you, that's where we're going to serve. That's where we're going to meet you. Some people want to sit in the back and not be bothered. But most people, like, you get in there at happy hour, and if you don't like people, don't sit in the bar.
Yep.
Because at one point, some random guy or some random person or couple are going to come and sit down at your meal or at your table and just start talking.
For sure.
And it's just the way that the culture's kind of mingled.
Even with the patio.
Yeah,
I mean,
even with the
people
patio.
It's awesome.
And I think that's so. Kachi's is probably my one restaurant that I created that it makes me feel like, okay, we did this right. Like, this concept rocks, and this concept we can redo and make up more and leverage, right?
Yep.
Going back to how to leverage something, Kachi's is that way.
Yep.
But now you got to throw in, if you're going to make a multiple Kachi's, what has to happen? The food has to taste the same
Everywhere.
every single time. The drinks have to taste the same every single time.
Is that what you're looking at?
That
next?
is the most time-consuming, hardest part of my job right now.
Is figuring out how to do that.
In fact, that's where my old mentor, George, that owned Wendy's, is now working back with me
To help you with this?
to help me take Kachi's to be able to put 3 up,
Really?
license it, get and maybe, you know, for me, I want it to be a lifestyle business.
For sure.
I want it to be a lifestyle restaurant. So like Tahoe and like, you know,
I can see this.
maybe somewhere on the coastline. You know, I want it like McCall. I want it to be,
yeah.
you know, if I could find the perfect spot. In fact, anybody listening to this, and you have a building in McCall that's on the water, that is not looking straight in the sun in the afternoon.
Yep.
Call me.
Yeah, right.
That's it. That's the space. We will. I don't care. I know it's hard to get employees, whatever, but it will be such a fun place to work and such a great experience
Yep.
that people will flock there. And it's true. You know, in the summertime is actually some of my worst time for regulars because all my customers are in McCall.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, where are they? Oh, they're up there. Oh, they're up there. Holidays are the worst because they're all playing in McCall. But that's just where we've created. So my idea for Kachi's and my full vision is that this is, which is great for me because now I get to travel to Tahoe or to all these places where I just want to hang out and have fun. You know.
Yep. Now you
Well,
can build a restaurant there. So that's the future for Kachi's?
That's the future for Kachi's, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
I see multiple Kachi's in the right locations. Now, to get it there, I'll probably build one more like in Meridian.
Yeah.
Just
You
so that I know that Eagle's not a fluke. You got to test it.
I mean, there's
gotta
a spot right
you gotta
there.
get the spot.
Eagle and Victory.
I know.
The old people home right there. That's right behind the house. I can walk.
That's right.
I can walk
You
to
know,
Kachi's.
Geno's, when Geno's went out,
Yeah.
I said, dude, that's the location. We got to do it.
Yeah.
And now the griddle's going in.
I know.
Way to sleep on it.
Right.
Way to sleep on it.
So after Kachi's has been tried and tested, and now you're what did you move on to next?
I went to, so then I started helping with other concepts. I started, you know, people would ask me, you know, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And so I started helping out a friend and been pretty involved in Porterhouse
Yeah.
and started, you know.
That's how you and I originally got connected, was through Porterhouse.
Yeah, and Porterhouse was this unique, cool. Dave was the one that started it, Dave Falk, and he started it in 2000. It's been part of Eagles, landscape forever. It's kind of like one of those consistent OG places. He's created an amazing relationship with his suppliers that he still gets delivered direct to these, so he gets to really compete in the market. But he just does a superior product. He does a great job on doing that. Now, I see him, he actually passed 5 years ago, and now his daughter is running it, and she's doing a phenomenal job. But it was a mom and pop shop. So now we're understanding what's our labor percentage. There was always money in the bank, which is great. But why? How do you leverage that? And so that's where I started taking on some other hats and just saying, all right, so if you have this company, how do we leverage it? How do we make this cash flow in a real way? And where do we add cash? Cash flow is the most important part in any business. We know this, right? And without cash flow, you're just never going to make it. It doesn't, cash flow absorbs all sins.
So it means let's say I want to start a bakery. And anybody listening, how does one go about that? Is it just networking and trying to find somebody that has a cash flow that believes in what you're going to do? Or do you just save and grind for years until you have enough to fund your own capital to start a business?
Well, okay, then you have partners, right?
Exactly.
And partners have opinions, right? And opinions are typically the cause of splitting up partners.
100%. Do you recommend doing partners? I mean, with all the years?
There is some great partnerships that I've done, and then there's some partnerships that I've done in the past that just they started out really well, but they don't always hold true to being very well. And it's because people sometimes are in different places in their life. That's all. It might be that still an awesome guy on the other side, but this one, for me, let's say for me, I want to expand more. And this one's like, no, I want to do less. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to be home at night. I want to be, these things. Well, they're two different ones. Or, even in my case, I have a partner that we've done some great things together. He's older. He's like, okay, now what's my next step? He's retiring versus me who's wants to continue to build and do more. So it just causes conflict. So back to the question on, should we do it? I think there's value in partners. I really do. And it's hard, and you still learn. I'm still learning to listen to someone else, right? Especially, but I think the question is more or less, do you have a product that you can replicate and make consistent? And if that answer is yes, and if you have a system that makes that make sense, and your costing of that product, right? So now we're going to start building your pro forma. You have to understand your pro forma before, because you can do it on a dime as long as you understand where your dimes are coming from or how you're going to save your nickels, right? So if I make this for $10 and I sell it for $20, I'm already in at 50%, right? And if that's the case, I still got the last thing you want to do is create yourself a job. I have a lot of friends that are like, oh, I own this. Cool. What do you do? I have a business that sells oils. Cool. And what do you do? Well, I work every day to sell oil. Okay. What's next? Well, I can't. I can't hire anybody. I don't sell enough oil. So what you're telling me is you do this thing and you're working it. Without you, it doesn't work. You've just created yourself a job.
A rat hole.
No freedom. And most people get into the jobs, and I truly believe, still in America, one of the best things in these restaurants, bakeries, anything else is the American dream still. It's still one of those things you can create, build in, create this whole lifestyle, and it's from your own, and you make great money. You can do great things. You can sell it. I mean, it's an asset. And there's nowhere really in the world that, there is places, but it is one of the best things to say I accomplished this.
For sure.
It feels great.
For sure.
So for me, you got to do your pro forma. It got to make sense on how many do I need? How many do I need to sell? How many do I need to get in the front door? Right? Jean Jus is a bakery downtown Boise. I don't know if you've ever been there.
No.
She's an Israeli. I hope she's not. I believe that's her nationality. And she is French trained. She makes probably the best croissants, quiches, brioche. she has this brioche egg sandwich that is off the wall. Like,
Yeah.
it is so good. I think it's cocaine. I honestly think there's cocaine in it. But it is so good. And she has this tiny little bakery, but she does everything at excellence and something new to the valley. It has something unique proposition to say, this is something new. And the crazy thing is, she's like, yeah, I'm closed. When I'm out, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah.
She has such a following. I've been there with lines out the door, people waiting to get in there. And it's not like they're all friendly. Like, you walk in there, and it is like a true bakery you're walking in overseas. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
You on your phone, get out of here.
Yep.
Like, don't be on your phone. You better know what you want. Don't waste my time.
Time for bullshit.
And, and it is crazy. And if we're out, we're out. Get out. If you don't like it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
I don't care. Leave. Like, it is not, but it's an experience, right? And it's something different that we didn't have.
Yeah.
And she is always busy when she's open. And her story is amazing. You should do some research on her. She's had a hard portion of her life, and she's come around that, and now she works for that piece of her life. And
Okay.
and she's just an amazing woman, and her husband's great. And but they do a bakery.
Yeah.
That they started very, very easily with a small amount, created a following, understood the pricing, understood how many people they needed in, and they just went to town. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the key, which is, what's your pro forma say? How many people do you need?
Yeah.
So, and I think most people like go into restaurants saying, oh, I have this product that no one else has, which, by the way, your bread is off the chain. I love your bread.
Oh, thank you.
It's like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think we've been bugging each other about putting it in different avenues
Yep.
to start selling and getting your name out there. But it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it works. Just, you got to figure out what is the numbers look like
Yep.
to perform it.
Yeah.
And
the kids love it. It's fun, and so, but it's like, it's one of those things, and this is why, I love sitting down with you, is because never in a million years, if like all my buddies that truly know me from Marine Corps days, high school, whatever, and they're like, you fucking make bread? You
missed your calling because bread is damn good.
Yeah, I remember we were so nervous. We were so nervous when we when we gave you those loaves, the original ones, because we were still fairly new and we didn't know what the fuck we were doing.
I know now. I feel like I can't even get any bread. It's like, I'm so sorry, we're sold out, dude.
Well,
you're out.
Yeah, Justin's like, "Ooh, say every time you come over, you're gonna bring me some." I never have any. But it's one of those things that, like, we play around with the idea. We love the marketing behind it, because it's different. And it's, instead of, your typical sourdough.
Yeah.
And all these, like, basic white chicks, and like, my cottage bakery and two a day, And I'm just like, fuck, I can't relate to that shit, because it's some chick that's during COVID, and it's like, fuck, next, like, I just like, what flavor is it? I'm out. But with this, I feel like it's fun because, one, the biggest thing behind it is the whole family's involved.
Yeah.
That my oldest daughter, she's learning the marketing, the social, the photography. I mean, she's the whole back end of it. She is engulfed in that. And then even with our youngest, being 10, she does the product development with us. She's the one that's helping come up with these flavors. And so everybody's involved with it. And then at the same time, it's like, we have these jokes, and, and we're actually going to start slinging sourdough as a guest. Like, if you're a guest on the episode, I'm going to start bringing it. Is
like I said, I'm chocolate. Like, where's my bread?
I got you. Well, these are the struggles of growing a small business, is because we'll post something and we're still doing this out of our house, out of a fucking oven. Yeah. Like 3-4 loaves if we're lucky at a time, and we'll have like just bread stacked.
Yep.
Which is great. We make a post about it, and it's just like, it rushes. And so, right now we did order
more of an oven.
An oven, like an actual factory, industrial size oven, but with the bridge collapsed in Baltimore, it delayed it like until like October. And we're like, fuck, we'll just wait, because we weren't sure what we were gonna do over summer. But it's been a lot of fun, and like when we make it fun, because now we have this core group of guys, right? Veterans, hunters, dudes that never, like me, I would never watch some just boring ass chick on social talk about her bread and her little cottage bakery. But now these guys are like, fuck, dude, try this. And we have customers now that are to the point that they're bringing us
product, like ingredients and
this guy
saying,
just came out, had him a call, and he was like, I got these huckleberries. Can you make me a huckleberry loaves? Here's the walnuts. Here's the He brought us all the ingredients. He's like, I just want to see. So we have these people that are able to make custom loaves for, but like the end goal with us is to get to where we're just doing batches of really cool flavors.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And because, we go to these little fairs, these little farmers markets, and it's all just plain sourdough, which is great. Like nothing beats a fresh out of the oven
sourdough. Yeah.
plain sourdough. The queen bee is what we call it. There's nothing. It's the most amazing.
Yeah.
But when you're pulling out we just did one with those Italian cherries, the oh God, what the hell are those? Not the red ones, are those dark,
The
thick,
dark,
really thick cherry juice. I can't ever remember the name of those, but anyways, we did that with a sweet. We did it for Valentine's Day, and we went and picked all these cherries, and so it's just like seasonal flavors now at the garden.
Was the whole bread red?
It was purple.
Purple.
It was purple. And so we use a local orchard, the Gem Orchard out in Star. We go and get like a cherry pulp and all these different flavors from them. So we use a lot of their stuff, which is cool because it's seasonal, and so that's where we see the end goal with this is seasonal, local, fresh ingredients that people can order. And then once they're gone, they're gone. And that's what's cool because, we created a little buzz. We came out with this pizza loaf and it was, we sold just ripped. And I told the wife, I'm like, shut it off. We have to create a demand. She's like, babe, we're making money. I'm like, shut it off.
Yeah.
She's like, are you sure? I'm like, fucking trust me. And we shut it off. We had people for weeks. What the fuck? I couldn't, sending us, hate emails.
I've ordered this and it's not coming. What is going on?
How is it already sold out? I want something. For weeks and weeks and weeks afterward. And I was like, and she's like, holy shit. And so I'm like, if we give everybody everything they want, then it's not as special. It's how I feel.
It's going to flame out almost.
And so
that's a hard time. You have a story behind it, right?
Yeah.
So the worst thing is every restaurant has a 7-year turn. What happens in 7 years? What is your redefine? What are you bringing? If you're not bringing something new to your table, that's why even franchises, they put in that you need to do a revamp. The menus are going to look different.
Really?
Something's going to look refreshed because the last thing you want is something to be
stagnant.
Well, you're not ever stagnant. You're either going forward or backwards.
Okay.
Right? It's pretty much it's just never going to just... It's either intriguing or it's going to become less and less and less intriguing.
Got it.
Right? And so your story, you have this organic story that keeps on changing, that keeps you looking. It's almost, and you're good at that. That's who you guys are. Mm-hmm. So you pair that with a great product.
Bread that's better than your wife's.
You're
See,
love it.
But that's my slogan, is because we have these guys that order it and they're like, shit, dude, this is better than my wife's.
Yeah,
we get it a lot, and then
perfect,
exactly. And then once you sell the husband, and then our hard part is selling the wives because
I can make it. But they're just putting product in it. Yeah.
And then they order it, and then the wife's like, "Okay, my husband convinced me." We get so much of that, so I feel like we are able to capitalize on the hardest demographic.
Yeah,
is some rancher, farmer, hunter, veteran that doesn't give a fuck about a loaf of sourdough. But since me being who I am, if I'm supporting it,
they're like, "Okay, let's do it."
Okay, this is trying it.
Well, it's also remember when Starbucks came out and on the cup they had a little green circle and you felt better about it? Or when you put on a piece of jewelry and it's this, or you put a brand, every brand understands that what you're trying to do is get someone to feel better about themselves by using your brand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And you're creating an idea I'm something bigger than what I am. Right? Which is kind of a dangerous world that we live in, but that's what we do. That's why we have so much depression and all this other stuff. Because you're never going to find that itch in products. But people try, right? When you walk into Kachi, I hope you feel great about yourself being seen there.
Yeah.
Just being there,
Yep.
right? Being there for yourself, but then also that pride of I saw you wear eyes at Kachi's or whatever else. It makes it almost like I tied them in. Well, then you're doing the same with with bread. And you kind of got this old world feel of your bread anyways, which is kind of fun. Like it's the old versus now we're just being creative.
Yeah.
Like old sourdough loaves, you know, that's kind
Revamped.
of deformed or whatever else with this new flair, right? But you feel better about supporting someone with a story.
Yeah.
And you feel better about having a product.
Yep.
You know, it's like Dutch Bros. Their coffee is crap, everybody. Come on.
It really
We
is.
all know this. The sugar's great.
The sugar's good. The syrups are amazing.
They made a business off mom and dad's money. You never you know what? If you find one, email it send it to the show. If you can find a Dutch Bros sticker on a car that costs over $100,000, I want to see it.
Oh, okay.
That's not their market.
Yep.
But I guarantee you're going to find a sticker on that 86, Subaru that smokes like a sieve and has got 2 like burnt out and 15 kids in it.
Yeah.
Like that's their market.
Yep.
They understand their market. You understand your market. And that's like when you're building this business of yours, understanding your market's the hardest part.
Yeah.
What niche are you serving? Who are you serving? Who's buying your product? Because if you say everybody's going to buy it, well, it's hard to fan that.
Yeah.
It's hard to fan that.
Well,
Even Starbucks has a clientele. That doesn't mean that other
for
people
sure.
don't go in. Kids don't go in, but their clientele isn't that,
Yeah. Like you take Black Rock, the coffee restaurants right by that. Like my kids love going there because they'll go and bring like board games and they'll just play in there or they'll do work or whatever there because it's a different atmosphere. And they literally just built a Starbucks right across the street from them. But my kids have to pass Starbucks to get to Black Rock. And they prefer that just because of the atmosphere.
It's what their clientele is. One's herding cattle through.
Yep.
Professional grade. And it is a different. And the ones that get it right really understand their model, understand who their client is.
Yeah.
And then they just
Run with it.
They just pour gasoline on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never met a Dutch Bros employee that hasn't want to climb into the car to say hi. And you're like rolling up the window, you're like, no, get out of my car. Like, and they have, what are you doing today? What's fun? What is,
Very engaging.
They are engaging. They're happy to be there. Even if they're not happy to be there, they're happy to be there.
Is that one of the biggest struggles so you also have the Vault, which are cigar lounges. So you have, a porterhouse, which is very clean cuts of meat and fresh fish. And you can go in and get sandwiches.
Deli sandwiches, yeah.
Which are fucking phenomenal. I lived on those, I think, for the whole entire through COVID. Oh, we were working.
Dude, COVID for Eagle was our best. I mean, we all
I bet.
grew. We all grew. Yeah.
It was
We were the
insane.
only thing open, right? People would come and people would start noticing, oh man, there's Eagle. There's some good restaurants in Eagle. So
Is that a battle for you, this learning your customers out the gate? Or is that something do you feel a lot of businesses struggle with that for a while? Or are they just trying to so my question, I guess, is these companies that are just throwing and casting a net, trying to our audience is anybody that loves Italian food, or is it the best way to go into okay, we want to cater directly to this audience, or do you open a business and see where it goes and you just have to watch? How
I
do
think you
you?
have to pivot. Anybody that says I'm never going to pivot, open a restaurant from themselves.
Yeah.
And there's and that is a very dangerous way to open a business. If you're opening, if this is the other thing, if you're a chef and you cook your food that you only want, sometimes it works really well. Most of the time, it doesn't work long term. You make food that other people want.
How do you listen to them? Do you do surveys?
It's hard to listen to. No, you listen to them by the money.
Okay.
Are they spending money or are they not?
Okay.
Are they, because there's a part of training your employees too, or your customers. There's a part of training customers, right? So when I can't tell you how many times someone's asked me, why don't you have lasagna? Put lasagna on it. Or the music. Let's just talk about music. I have a group of guys, and they call them the Hood. They live right there. They walk over to the restaurant. It's kind of their place they hang out. They live in the Hood. They walk over. They party all the time. They drink. They love my happy hour. And every time they come in, they say, why don't you're an Italian restaurant. Why is there no Frank Sinatra on? I said, because I don't want to be Frank Sinatra Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
That's not my branding. I want to be this chill, Mediterranean, ocean side. I want to give you a new perspective on what Italian food can be. You know, and it's hard sometimes because you still need to hold true to that. But then if you're serving, you know, soggy octopus all the time, and no one's buying it, but then you had this crispy.
Is that why you brought it back? Because nobody was buying it?
No.
Or did I just bitch
just
enough?
needed enough. And I don't listen to the customers like that very often, but I'm just tired of hearing bam. But if you have a product that's not selling, change it.
Yeah.
There's no point in shoving it down someone's throat. It's just wasting money.
Yep.
You know, and then if you have a product that also brings people in, maybe you do it. Like, I don't have salmon on my menu at Caci. Salmon is like
staple.
Eagle, Idaho's mom's #1 dish, I think. You know, it sells no matter what. I don't want them to eat salmon on my menu. I want them to try trout, or I want them to do swordfish, or I want them to do black cod, or I want them to do halibut. I want anything else but salmon. I don't want it.
Yeah.
And the people are like, why? I said, I don't know. There's enough restaurants that serve salmon.
Yep.
You know, how many swordfish dishes do you get? Let's try that. You know, let's try something from the ocean. Like it's okay.
Yeah. My youngest loves it because there's so much different stuff. I'm very blessed with kids that eat.
Yeah. Oh, my daughter's the same way. She's like, I'll have the clams with 4 scallops and like I get done looking at her menu, like her ticket. I'm like, honey, your meal's like $180. Stop.
Yeah.
And my son, I'll have a Wagyu steak, please, but no potatoes or anything. So then he doesn't eat enough, and he's like, I'll have another Wagyu steak, please. I'm like, kid, that costs money. We went to Crave the other day. They have these hot rocks. Have you ever seen their hot rock appetizer meal?
Yep.
And it's just Wagyu meat, beef, and you cook it on a hot rock. He ordered 2 of them and wanted a 3rd for his main meal.
You're like, no, you're done.
The kid's 11 years old.
Yep.
I'm like, no.
That's how my youngest is. She goes straight to the steaks every time. And she's like, Dad, what do you think of this steak? And I'm just like, some $60 steak. I'm like, kid, you've yet to ever tell me that you've had a steak better than mine. She's like, I know, but I have to try it. And she's
it won't happen, kid.
And she's so adamant. She's like, Dad, I just want the steak. And I'm like, you're not getting the fucking steak. And she always ends up getting the steak.
You're not doing it. You're not doing it.
And
hey, where'd you get the steak at?
Every single meal, I'm like, was it better than mine? She's like, no. She's like, it's really good. It's really good. It's not better than, and I'm like, but it's hilarious. But like, that's why we like going to there, because she'll order the craziest shit on those menus at your restaurants because.
And I want it to be that way. I want you to get off of like, there's 100, and that's where I think restaurants really thrive. And we're starting to see like Percy just opened up downtown, and it's a wood-fired American, right? Wood-fired American, which is great. I had some great meals there. It was very good. But it gets you out of like the normal. You can get a burger and fry anywhere. Like, do it a little different. Whatever. Like, you don't want always the country club cooking.
Yeah.
You want something a little bit different.
For sure.
And it's kind of branding, right?
Yep.
It's who we are.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's fun watching or fun listening to you because, you know, of talking and just listen to the customer, you know, that's what your biggest takeaway from, you know, what I'm getting from you so far is, you know, and we try, you know, we listen and, you know, from our little, you know, what we have going on and, you know, we were listening, what really sank in with us is people are buying these loaves of breads for gifts. Like I personally, and, you know, I've sat down with the wife, we're like, I've never bought anything to gift to somebody like for food wise.
Are they real estate agents?
No.
They're just gifts.
Random, like, oh, we're having some people over, we're having a party and we want to give them a bunch. Or, hey, we're all meeting up in town. And so, like, to us, and like, we're talking, I'm like, have you ever ordered somebody, like, besides maybe like a fruit basket?
Yeah.
For someone to get well? I would never consider buying a loaf.
Come over to a party and I'm going to leave you with a treat. I have some friends that do that all the time. I'm like, come over to my house for a party, and it's like, okay, what am I going to get home? You know, but I don't understand it.
I don't either. But we listen to that.
Well, you have to.
And we're like, well, if this is good enough for somebody to gift them, and that's another thing.
Well, and something unique enough and not, it's harder to, and that's the key. When you give a gift like food, it's usually something that not everybody knows about. It's usually something that not everybody can get. And that's kind of like the coolest part about seeing a product like yours be something that elevated, where like I guarantee you haven't had this food. And I've had people come up and say, you got to try this because I guarantee you haven't tried this. But to give someone like, oh, and here's a gift card to go do it. Like they believe in you that much. They're like, here's a gift card. Go try that restaurant. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
That's probably the best honor you can ever have, because it's not that they like it, that they love it so much that they're going to tell their friends to go eat it because they're going to love it as well.
It's been fascinating. We're excited to see where it goes, just for fun. Worst case, it's been a lot of fun to be able to learn and to show the kids like everything that goes into a business at this age. And we sat down with them. We're like, listen, like, especially our oldest, like, she's like, I don't want to make. She's like, I'll bake and I'll do everything else. She's like, I don't want to make the bread.
I don't want
and she's like, I'll bake but not make, is like her little thing.
I'll bake.
But I told her, I'm like, that's the best part about this, because we all get to learn something new and you get to find what it is. And I'm like, listen, this isn't something that like we're going to be doing. Well, we say this now, but who knows the way it's growing. But I'm like, I imagine you as a just fresh, brand new, beautiful 16-year-old girl with a license that wants to just run around. The last thing you want to do is break fucking.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to go home and bake bread.
Hey, we got 30 orders. We got to.
Yeah.
3
Although, you might be onto something. Less boyfriends, more bread.
Exactly. She ain't got time for shit. But, it's been fun.
It's like buying your daughter a horse. You're like, yes. Yeah, she won't even date till 32.
Right? Nobody will date her because they're a crazy one. But as far as business-wise, what's one of the best business decisions that you've made that is elevated?
The next one.
The next one?
No, I honestly, the risk of going out on my own has been one of the best learning business decisions I've ever done. I think as far as giving up 100% control and just watching what is the moving pieces, stop micromanaging everything, start managing what controls the big ship, and entrust the people under. I mean, I have a guy named Randall now that's my GM at Kachi, and he is doing a phenomenal job. And it's not about CJ. It's not even about Randall. It's about Kachi's. And he's really diving into it and being like, okay, this is what it is. So letting the brand stand on itself, not on a person, has been really important to me.
Even you could leave at any time and it's still Kachi's. It's not
CJ's. Yeah. And for a while, I don't think it would be the same thing. I was there every day. I was expoing. I'm still there every day, but maybe not expoing, not running the floor. Now I'm just glad I'm basically able to run around and play with, and talk to customers and people that I've created a relationship with. Yeah. And I will say this, like, the greatest, like Rembrandt's, Kachi, everything, the Vault, Eagle, Jovino's, even when I built that, all these platforms created opportunity to be present for partnerships in the future. I have met and had more opportunities through these ventures than I think I would ever have gotten before. Rembrandt's led me to Justin, right? And hit that group and created some great great now lifetimes, I hope, friends, right? And that was because of a meeting behind Rembrandt's, because I had a restaurant that another guy wanted to go have a meeting there and invited me to sit down, and we talked about crypto, which I'm like, what is crypto? I think I even asked, what's crypto?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so far out of this world that what is crypto? And so I'm so naive. All I do is cook and freaking serve tables. But, and so it's like, it's given, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, it's the people, your sphere, if you're hanging out with people that are going nowhere, you're probably going to go nowhere. If you're going to hang out with people that are better or that have a drive or that are like-minded in what you want to achieve, you're probably going to achieve it with work. But you can't hang out with someone. Your sphere can't be this, like, I'm not motivated. I'm okay just being here. But I want to be, I see it all the time, even with my employees. It's like, I want to get out of trouble. I want to stop. I want to save money. I want to buy my own house. And then you talk to them, what do you do Friday night? Oh, we did a rager at my house. We spent everything we made, and we bought beers, and we just did this and that. I said, huh. So when is the change? When someone told me this a long time ago, and it says, no change, no change. Mm-hmm. If you want to change your outcome, then you got to change what you're incoming, what you're putting into it. Yeah. Like, or your friend. And it's hard. Like, not saying, like, don't talk to your friends. Like, I'm not saying, hey, lose all these deadbeats. What are those friends
contributing?
But there's two types of friends. Friends that are encouraging you to move and to continue to grow. And I believe in any relationship, I don't care what it is, you're either growing in that relationship or you're dying in that relationship. Mm-hmm. You're either being productive or you're being not productive, right? Yeah. And so if you're surrounding yourself with people that are getting drunk every Tuesday night and hanging out and sleeping in and that's not what you want to do, you got to change something. You got to be brave enough to say, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go do this. Yeah. And they're going to make fun of me maybe, or they're going to, and what's cool is some of your friends will be inspired by you, and you'll continue to be a friendship and continue to grow together. Some of your friends will look at you like, dude, no, you're not for me. Yeah, you're too good for me. Yeah, and that's nice. Okay. That's okay. Like, change your, I had friends that I had previously that I probably wouldn't want around my kids. Yeah. Right? Like, I think everywhere I bring my kids has influence over them. And if I want my kids to be, go-getters or entrepreneurs or even value struck. Like, what is the important values to me that I want to instill in my kids? Mm-hmm. Don't look at it and go hang out with these values and say, oh, but it's okay to hang out with them, because they're gonna be like, no, well, Dad, what's the difference? Yeah,
and you're so right with that. Like, as a family, we're making some pretty big changes this year. My wife and I are retiring from one of the things that we're doing right now because we want to go all in. Mm-hmm. We want to, especially like with goat and the bread and everything we have going on. But we also have a business that it does well for everybody else. Mm-hmm. I can't get into it now. We're going to do a podcast on it and we go public with it. But it takes up a lot of bandwidth, and it's helped a lot of people over the years, but we're at the stage now where we feel like it was a great run, and it was incredible, and we helped lives change lives, but it's time for us to do us. Mm-hmm. And, and this is why I love talking to guys like you and Justin and Josh and everybody, because it's like, we need that time, know, and I don't want to be having that conversation when I'm 50. I turned 40 at the end of the month, and it's like, okay, are we just going to be doing this and helping everybody else our whole lives? Mm-hmm. And like, I'm one of those people where I want to be able to help. I want to be able to.
Well, I don't think that will ever end in your life. It will just be different.
Exactly. Well, that's always been my passion. I want to be able to help anybody I can with whatever I can, but at the same time, like, I finally had to step back and be like, okay, I'm giving everybody all of my energy, all of my time. And all of our little projects are getting 10% here, and here, and so it's like we're in that process now of like, okay, like, my circle of friends has shrunk to very, very minimal people because, I started watching a lot of when I don't tell a lot of people like the moves and things that are going on. I mean, I'm sure you've learned over the years, because then you just get all the naysay, but when I would start narrowing in my circle of friends, I would watch their reactions, or I'd watch how they would encourage. I'd be like, oh, cool, dude, yeah, whatever. And they would just, okay, cool. I don't have his full support. And that's how I got to that chapter in my life where, like, fuck, if these people aren't fully supporting me, what is the point? Yeah. Why do I need this guy in my life? Because we can sit here and shoot the shit, and he comes over and stands in my driveway for fucking 3 hours, and we talk about hunting stories. I don't need that. No. And so with that, we sat down and like, cool, like, where's our bandwidth being taken. And that's where we're both stepping down and we're ready to jump full in and grow something with our children. And so that way I want to be that family business where we're looking back
absolutely.
10, 15 years from now, like, holy fuck, like this was awesome.
Well, and the other thing is, like, and the thing is the people that are going to make a difference in your life, relationships work when you give more than expect back.
Should never
Right?
expect anything back,
Yeah.
at least for me.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't. No. And if you give for the expectation of getting something back, you've already failed.
Exactly.
But if you're giving something, a good relationship is that you're getting something too. Mm-hmm. And not that it's expected. It's just that's when you know you've met someone that can encourage you
Equally.
throughout where it's going, right? Mm-hmm. If and your past business, man, the opportunity was that you've learned and you've grown by giving and by creating and by developing and yeah, there's a pride the aspect of or there's two different pride aspects. One is I don't want to let it go because I created it,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like I'm a failure if I close it down. But it's next chapter. Moving on is never the failure.
Yeah.
It's not moving on is the failure,
And that's where we're at right now.
right? I mean, but if you don't get anything back, you have to. Then you're not in the right spot.
And that's what we're now realizing. And it's been, and how we've run this business, it's now showing us that it's been a double-edged sword all these years because we've kept it small, grassroots, very close core. But then now we've hit our limit of what we're able to do with the time we have. And so we either have to scale it, go corporate, bring in the money, bring in the funding, the sponsors and all that stuff, or we pass the torch.
Yeah.
And it's like for us, it's like, do we sit here and just milk it? And now we're one of these companies that we do this for the next 15 years. We make a couple grand off of it here and there, whatever. And it's our passion project. And so like, that's where we've had that come to Jesus. And it's like, hey, like, how long are we going to do this? You know, it wasn't something that I wanted to do and turn over, and it wasn't going to be generational. It was just I wanted to help some guys and grew into what it is.
You
and
saw a
11 years
need,
later.
you met it, you did it.
Yeah.
Now what's the next need?
Exactly.
Right? I mean, and
The next need is my family.
well,
You
and
know?
you quickly learn that, like, it is. I think more and more of my kids. Obviously, everybody does. You think more and more of what you're going to do, what your kids are going to do, things like that. What you don't want them to do. Right? Like, don't get into this world. I tell my kids all the time, don't own restaurants. Get away from restaurants. Do the rest
Here
of the
you
stuff.
are.
Yeah. They're like, Dad, you're not making any sense. I'm like, I know, but no. But it is like, man. And I think that the way that you are, the way that you act, you attract the right people if you're open and you're looking for it, right?
Oh, for sure.
Or if you're acting like this, you're going to attract the wrong people. But I think that's where, like, you going back to the best business decision I think you'll ever make or I make is the people you put as your influence
For sure.
around us, because that's what's going to grow us.
And that's been a big thing with me lately is, getting into the Degen group, getting brought into these circles and it's meeting guys and sitting down. And I mean, you sit with
And they have so many stories.
Fuck,
I mean,
so many.
it's and so many experiences and so many failures, which
That's
has
been a great
awesome.
thing. One of the biggest failures that's held me back for years was wild chaos. When I started this company with a buddy of mine, it's going to be an apparel outdoor brand, and we had some differences in just different life. I mean, we started at the worst time.
Yeah.
And we had so much momentum going for us, and we just
out.
we literally, I feel like both changed 2 chapters in our life at the exact same time of trying to launch a business. So we let it fade out, and that always hit me. It always sat on me like, fuck, man. Like if we would have just kept it going, it would have been massive.
Stupid saying, and I'm just so pissed off. But you learn more what you fail at than you ever do you make. I mean, and I think there's a lot of truth to that though too, because what is the next thing that you learned or didn't learn? I mean, there's things if you can't learn from, and that's what separates the people that finally win and the ones that let them go. Like everybody's gonna fail. In fact, I don't know if I trust someone that didn't fail. There's a statistic out there that most millionaires failed or went bankrupt, one or billionaires, whatever. But it's the truth is like you have to learn somehow, and schooling's not always the end all.
Hell no.
Like, and that's why I was so grateful for the company I worked for. They're like, I'm going to pay you to screw up.
Yep.
I'm going to pay you for your education, and you're going to screw up that too, And then you're going to go and you're going to figure it out on your own. And then hopefully when you screw it up on your own, the trick is not to screw it up as much. Or when you do screw it up, it doesn't cost you as much.
Yep.
Like that's how you start learning.
Yeah.
But
And it took me a while, to realize that. I took it hard because I think it's also at the same time with social media, if you fail, everybody sees it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're like, fuck. Then they're like, oh, they failed. But it took me a while to realize, like, you know what? I failed because I fucking tried.
Yeah.
I failed because I tried. I failed because I was doing everything I could to learn from it and didn't pivot. Mm-hmm. Now I've learned, right? Mm-hmm. And so then it took me, and I think that is the biggest battle with, nowadays is because everybody gets to see everything. Oh, and you're so scared and you're so worried and, oh, this guy, they did this and, well, they don't want to work with us because it's, once I realized, like, who gives a fuck? Yeah. At the end of the day, I don't give a fuck about anybody that's watching and talking shit because they're watching and talking shit. Mm-hmm. They're not starting. They're not failing. And it's like I have buddies that have failed. I'm like, fuck, dude, what did we learn from it? And we go through. It's like, with Wild Chaos, like I learned so much by walking and letting it go stagnant, thinking I could just turn it back on. And then it was too late at that point. So we were like, how do we revamp it? Yeah. I had it. We sat on it. I'm like, fuck, let's do a pod. Let's just see where it goes.
Yeah.
And it's been one of the most incredible things because of the interaction and the feedback and the amount of people that are actually like supporting this. It was like it got to breathe that new fresh air and like that life back into me again. I'm like, fuck, okay. And then that's what's motivated us to do so many other things just from something so simple as a failed company to turning it into something.
I think if you don't do something because you're afraid to fail, you'll never do something to succeed. Like it's never going to work. Yeah. Or it's never going to reach its potential. Mm-hmm. Right. I think we put way too much on failure as people, because I think that there's failing as giving up. That one sucks. Yeah. Don't do that. Yep. But there's also failure as I tried, didn't work. Try again. Yep. Right? And the only person that really gives you the hardest time is yourself.
All day, it's yourself.
Yourself is always the biggest. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest guy that holds you back. It's the biggest reason you didn't do something. I mean, they say hindsight, whatever. It's all because you're scared to make that move, right?
It's all it comes down to is fear.
Challenge accepted, right? Here we go. Yeah. You're doing a podcast. I'm on a podcast, which I told you, no one's going to watch. They're going to be 5 minutes into this. Everybody turned it off anyways. Like,
always,
They're like, yeah, we're out. This guy sucks. But yeah.
What's been one of your biggest learning points out of all the years? What is something, if you were like, if there was one thing that I can take to every business, what would it be? Sorry, I'm throwing these at you.
No, that's all right. Yeah, I think the one thing that's consistent in all business is how you can empower, in my businesses, right? How you empower your teammates, your partners, your employees to accomplish a task in a uniform way. Mm-hmm. Like if you can work with people and pull them and improve their life, man,
you're good.
You have all the runway you need. Like I think the biggest success I've ever had is not how much money I didn't make, how much money I made. It's not how many restaurants I've had. It's not how many buildings I built or developments I've done. The best success I've ever had, above my 3 beautiful children, is absolutely watching people grow in themselves. Yeah. When someone comes and says, you know what? I want to know this because you've created this in my life. I think about the people that have changed my life. Yeah. And encouraged me, and it's the little things. It's like, okay, I'm going to be better this way. And you're still learning. Like my mentor, back when I was 17 years old, told me, I think it was yesterday, actually. It's pissed me off. Told me, you got to stop doing it like I used to do it. You got to do it like you're going to do it today. Because what I did back then isn't always the same as what you need to do today. So this guy was like, I'm like, no, I got to be this way. This is what it is. And he's like, stop it. Believe in yourself. Understand that you know what you're doing. You've had the experience now to start doing things your way and believe in yourself and do it. And that's why I think people say I'm a fraud, because like you just think I'm a fraud. Because you still can't believe that you've come to a realization, or you've come to a place in your life where you're now being able to do it a different way and getting results. Like you've always been doing it like, well, I'm just doing what this guy did or this guy told me. Now I'm doing it the way that I think it should happen, and the result, and I'm going to fail. Like there's going to be something that I do really wrong, but there's going to be a lot of things that I hope that I really change around and I make right.
Has there been a learning experience that you can think back on that cost you a lot, or you were just like, oh shit, we fucked that one up?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah. The learning, I mean, this is going to be personal in my personal life. The biggest learning I've ever had in my life is not realizing that I need to focus on my family just as much as my business.
Okay.
I mean, you own a restaurant and they'll say night, day, whatever. But I took so much advantage of understanding that my family was always going to be there. And I woke up one day realizing my family wasn't there at all. Ugh. I just became a real father to my kids in the past probably 3 years. Like, honest to goodness, understanding them, listening to them, talking to them, enjoying hanging out with them. And my oldest is 15, my youngest is 11. I've wasted so much time, right? And it cost me a marriage. It cost me friendships. It's cost me, all this other things. And not to say that my success was because I ignored them. It wasn't. In fact, I have more success today not living for money, not living for all this other stuff that I thought was so important, and being part of my family. I've had more opportunities for greater success today than I ever have living for that, right? Because I believe that when I look at someone and I want to be in business with him, if I wanted to go into business with Ben, and I would look at him and I'd say, okay, his track record is this. He works really hard. Cool. What's his family look like? How close is he? What's important to him, right? And if you can master being a good family member and also a hard worker, I think you have the best secret sauce for success in life.
For sure.
Because I'd rather do business with you than a guy that I know has cheated on his wife 3 times and is in his, whatever marriage and just
at the bar all fucking night.
Bar.
Yeah.
Because what's that teaching is it's you're living for yourself. And at some point, the bar is going to get you. At some point, you're going to have to make a change. And is it going to be at my expense?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be at his expense? Is he going to fail in his life where it goes away from kids, family, money? Or is it going to be my expense where all of a sudden my company goes down because someone didn't have the right pieces in line? The best manager always is the manager that can manage his life first. Always. Always. I've had the people that come to me that run my restaurants or run different businesses for me, and I look at their life and it is polished. Always become better and lead better. Yeah. Because they're not dealing with this. They have systems. They put systems. Not to say they don't screw up. They fail all the time. Shoot, we all fail all the time. Yep. But they are in a position to learn from them. They're in a position to actually have it done. And that's the biggest cost I've ever had. Yeah. Was just now getting to know my kids.
Which that's rough, man. Yeah. And I've that's why I hate these motivational speakers. I absolutely despise them because they're always talking about you got to grind, like these Grant Cardones and all these guys that are like, I make hundreds of millions, and I never see these guys. And I just saw this panel of these like social media influencers. There's this guy. He works off one of those like prison to success and blah blah blah, right? you never see anything with their families. They never talk about their wives. They never talk about their kids. And he's sitting here trashing some guy that of his physical appearance because he's got a dad bod, and the guy's like, I don't have a lot of money. He's like, I'm a father. I everything I do is for my family and my kids. And it's sad to watch like this next generation, I feel like, is being trained to like, you have to work, grind, and I have buddies, and I know you probably do too. The guys that like, you got a fucking kid?
Yeah.
Like, this guy's got kids?
Well, okay, so yeah.
You know, and it's like,
I got people who work for me for 5 years, and they meet my kids. They're like, "You married?
Yeah, right.
You have kids? What?" I'm like,
I personally, yeah, exactly.
What is really important here?
Exactly, and so that's where I feel with this chapter I'm in now. It's like, I want to bring my kids everywhere. I want them meeting everybody with me and be able to have that conversation and to be able to know what's going on when we're talking. I mean, obviously, they're not going to know everything business-wise, but like they can sit and we get in the truck and we're leaving. Dad, that was a really cool meeting. Like, that's really great. What's going on? They're really going to do this. That's going to happen. Like, oh, you know, it's part of. I love that. Yeah, we'll see. You know, a million things could happen, but you know, it's like that's where it's like so important for me, and it. But at the same time, like it's. I guess I'm in the struggle of finding that balance of wanting to be with my kids all day and bring them along versus we have to grow this. I need this time.
Yeah,
that's the juggle where I feel most, especially guys in our position, like family is, you know, and I hear it growing up like, oh, family first. You're like, yeah, fucking whatever, money first. then you look back and it's like, you know, I mean, you're a great example. You're like, fuck, man, my oldest is a teenager now, and I'm just building relationships the last few years because I focused. But you have the funds, you have the means to be able to travel and do those things. So it's.
I know it's this big challenge, right? And I think the you know. It's not necessarily that you have to. It's not quantity of time.
It's quality.
I'm not ever talking about quantity of time. I'm not even talking about quantity of time in the grind. You know, these motivational speakers, they get in there and they're like, you get up at 4, you work out to 5, you do that, and what they're actually teaching you is to be diligent in what you do. But that's not as cool as having a spreadsheet of success. And I can't charge you as much if I can't do this part for you. But success is not, well, it might not look like you get up at 4 and you go work out.
Yeah.
Success is that you dive into your children and you have quality time with them and you meet them and you understand them and you work with them and you create a life with them. And when you go to work, you dive into your work and you understand it, and you understand where you need to meet, and you need to, and you succeed in it, and you listen, and you do the work. I think I don't have my phone on me. How many times you sit on TikTok or when I think about this whole success in family versus that, I feel like when we're just hanging to hang and not being intentional. You need some of that. But intentional is where success comes from. Being intentional in what you do, right? Being intentional being a father, being intentional in your marriage, being intentional in your work, in your discipline. That's where success comes from. Not, well, I did a checkbox. But that's why we have Dave Ramsey around, right? Dave Ramsey said, no, get 3 envelopes, put this and this and that and that and that, and that's all you have. And because people don't have self-discipline. And that's what these motivational speakers are really talking about. But they just don't. I mean, it's just the same old story. It's just a different. It's a different presentation. In your life, it's the same thing. In your kids, in your family, in your work, and in everything you do. If you don't have discipline in it, if you're not going to look at if you're not going to watch your labor percentage, if you're not going to count your inventory, then get out of the damn business. Get out.
You're just wasting time.
You're wasting your time. You're being mediocre in everything that you're doing. Get out. Don't do it. Go find something that you want to do intentional and succeed in it. That's why it's so crazy when I look at success stories and they have whatever it is, whatever they've created, whatever stupid gadget they made. It didn't come because they were just sitting around. They were actually intentional about a need that they needed to fix.
Yep.
You know, I know a guy that does the stickers on all the fruits in all the stores. You know the stickers with the numbers on it?
Yes.
He owns that company. He has that patent. Right?
Fuck you, money.
Right?
Yeah.
He was intentional on a product that needed to be done, and he did it. And now his success and what his intentional actions done is created this feeling of having. But great success people don't become non-intentional what they do. They don't, like, we have a common friend, Justin, right? And he's very successful in what he does. And that guy is probably the most intentional man I've ever met. He's intense, but he's also intentional in what he does. He grinds harder than anybody but he he spends time with his sphere, more importantly, with his friends, with his family, with everybody. And that's what I'm saying by intentional or partying. He's with his people intentionally, probably more intent than anybody else I've ever met.
Yeah.
Right? And you can see in his life and where his success comes from, it's because he grinds, but it's not because he doesn't have a family or he doesn't have a wife or he doesn't have friends. He's just, and I'm learning from him. In fact, he's, in a lot of ways, he's teaching me through our friendship to be a little bit more intentional in what I'm doing. Or don't do it. Who cares? Like, for him, if you're not going to be intentional, just don't do it. Who cares? Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Why bother?
Why are we wasting time with it?
Why are we wasting time? And he does it with people. If you're not going to be intentional, then I don't need that person in my life.
Yep.
And I'm like, revere that. I'm like, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Right? But
And it takes people to show you it. Even though you can hear it a million times, but once you are in and
even if you think you have it, then you get into it and you're like, actually, I never had it.
right.
I don't know what the hell. Yeah, I'm successful. And then you meet Bill Gates. You're like, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not successful.
That's why the scale of success is so funny to me. And, I always you see like what's success, and it's like, is it the Bugattis? I mean, is it the watches, the cars? To everybody, it's their own thing, know. And that's one thing I've learned is like to each their own. When it comes to success, I mean, everybody has their own meaning of success.
Oh, yeah. If you are basing your success on someone else's success, you're never gonna hit it.
That's
never gonna hit it.
That is it. That's it.
You're never. I mean,
that is it.
If my success is defined upon what that guy has, there's always gonna be a guy with something else.
Yep.
And by the way, ironically, my brother is the most successful man I've ever met. One of them. He has a modest home that's basically paid for. I think it's paid for. A wonderful wife, 3 children, a 9-to-5 job. And he goes camping every weekend.
Yep.
He does something fun every chance he's mountain biking with his kids.
Yep.
And in the world, success would be like, well, how many millions does he have? Well, he might not even have $1 million. I don't know. I never hear him talk about money, ever. He never talks one bit about money. What he has, what he doesn't. It's not on the table. And so many times, guys with money look at that and go, oh, I want that so bad. I want that peace. I want that calmness. I want that. And then those guys sometimes are looking at the other guys going,
I wish I had that.
I wish I had that. And I'm like, oh, I want to.
See, and that was me for a long time, especially I've always been the little fish, in these groups. Like, you sit down with you guys and it's intimidating. Like when I first got pulled in these circles,
Me too.
I'm like,
that's how I started.
What the fuck am I doing sitting? I would leave the vault.
That's how I feel sitting right here.
Right. I would leave the vault and I would go home and I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing there, babe, but we're in.
I'm there. I'm
in. We got it. The door got cracked and I'm stepping the fuck in, and we would have these conversations.
I'm going to be intentional about this.
Yeah, I still do it. Like we'd leave. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck, why I'm even here.
I think the other day he's like, hey, let's buy a whatever. And I'm like, huh? I'm in the wrong group.
Yeah, yeah. Well, exactly. But then
He's gonna go on vacation for a month, and no one knows where he's going. He's just gonna. Yeah, I'm like,
he calls me.
I'm like, no, I can't go.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I'm going to Hawaii. Can you get in contact here? I need New Zealand. Who do you know in New Zealand? He's giving me this list of things, but like, but I look at those guys and I'm like, I don't need that. It's great for everybody.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And I've wanted it for so long, right? I look at all the guys and they got everything, and I'm just, but I feel as a society who we are now, that shows our social status of driving these badass cars and whatever, right? Having these giant helmets, but like, once I've gotten into these circles now and I see that, like, I'm cool. I would love to get to a point where like I'm financially like, okay, we can cruise if we had to.
Yeah.
But right now I'm learning so much. I get to meet so many.
Being financially stable has nothing about success.
Exactly.
Like, that is a form of a step in success, but that is not success.
100%. 100%. And I agree with you.
I would argue.
And what I mean that is like I want to be able to take my kids and be like, hey, well, I want to go to Greece.
Want to do that. Right?
Exactly.
And even I want to be able one day to be like, hey, we're going to go and we'll just figure out where we're going to go. Right? And the cool part about our friendships in what we've created is some guys that I know will do these miniature trips and they have just as much fun and they're just as successful.
Oh, for sure.
And they don't, and it's not about even need. It's just like, this is where I'm ticking. This is where you're ticking. This is where you're ticking.
Yeah. And it took me a while to realize that. Like, we just drove the Coeur d'Alene, adopted a fucking dog, and drove back. And it was one of the greatest things we've ever done.
Oh, yeah. First of all, Idaho, driving up 55 is got to be the best. I mean, you go to high desert.
Not right now.
It's all
construction.
Construction.
Oh, it's fucking horrible. It added like 4 hours onto the drive. I was over it. We were stopped for like 45 minutes at a time.
Well, that's even a good story.
Yeah. That's what made the trip, though. But the whole entire time, my little one had no idea. Because she's been hounding for a pet.
I want a dog.
She even was like, I want an axolotl and a fucking lizard, all this crazy shit. But like, so long story short, I gave her some guidelines if we're going to do it, and we ended up finding like the most perfect dog for it. And it was a rescue. It's great. But like the whole drive, I'm like, this might be we're just going to go start looking at shelters. My buddy, he lives in Coeur d'Alene. We were in the Corps together, did 2 deployments, lived on the same vehicle for the whole time in Iraq. So we're tight, right?
Yeah.
Hit him up. Hey, we're coming to town. We're going to rescue this dog. No, Kennedy doesn't know. Anyways, but the whole time I was churching it up like, man, it would be cool if we could
maybe found one.
Just how excited this little girl was. And then we get there. We roll in late at night. I think it's got to have been 11 o'clock at night by the time we got in. We rent a hut. So the wife always finds the most random Airbnbs. It's literally a hut, no running water, no power. We have like
it is a hut
with a plastic roof so you can see the stars.
Oh, goodness.
And we roll in. There's a little outhouse and there's an outdoor shower, and it was the greatest. The greatest experience. And I'm laying there and the girls are sleeping. We're about to get this dog the next day. My little one has no idea, and she's just, can we look at shelters? Can we look? And she's amped, and she has but like, to me, I was like, God, like, thank you, God, for giving me the means to be able to drive to Coeur d'Alene. And it's not much, but like, I'm able to do that. And so like, to me, that is where I was like, I'm cool with this. Like,
perspective is everything.
Everything, man. It's everything. It's everything.
Because you created something. I mean, that's gonna. I don't care what it is. You do it together.
It's great,
and it works. Right? I mean, it's just. I mean, how great.
It was, man.
That's a great story. That's fantastic.
But like, but then I look at these guys on social.
Now they're shitting all over.
No, dude, we're so lucky. We got so lucky so far. So, she's been an incredible dog. And besides it being a Jack Russell Dotson mix, this little motherfucker just goes. Like, so I got to get a tracking collar on this thing because I'm afraid we're going to lose it. Other than that, perfect dog.
Which would be the worst thing that could happen.
Well, because now my little one and this dog, and I'm so glad she's bonded with. Oh, I'm talking within days. This dog is just obsessed with her, and she's obsessed with it, and she's showing so much responsibility, and and there's learning curves. Obviously, it's a new dog in the house, and I compare everything to my old dog, which was probably one of the greatest dogs ever. But it's one of those things, like, I was able to give that to her. I mean, it costs $250 for a fucking dog. There's people out here that are like, that's a lot, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, that's where it's like, that's success for me, that we can pack up the family, drive 8 hours north, go rescue a dog. We stayed in literally a hut with a clear roof on it.
Mm-hmm.
Got up the next day, met the dog, and she showed up at a park. It was the most incredible moment, and saw my buddy, and we drove home. And
Yeah.
I was like, that was perfect trip.
Perfect trip.
Perfect trip.
Yeah.
That was it. So,
Well, those are that's like we said before, like,
what
that's
is success? You know,
That's success.
I think
right?
with social and everything nowadays, they put so much pressure on you that you have to have the giant mansion and all the cars and the garage full of toys, and it's not it. And
if that's your jam,
so
do it.
And here, exactly,
Great.
right? And that's it.
Success, that's awesome. Like, do it. Like,
But how many of those guys do you know that are fucking miserable?
well, that's why they're doing it. They're doing it because they're trying to find something else
Makes them happy.
that gives them a sense of success. I tie it down to they have no hope. There's nothing left for them. Either they've made as much money as they need. There's nothing else that gives them purpose.
Besides chasing it.
So I'll buy the newest toy, and someone will look really at me and be envious on me, and I'll find my self-worth and everything else I do within the products or the things that I have.
Yeah.
And I think that we're all subject to that. I think we all fall into that sometimes. We a car is a car.
Yep.
But we buy a car that we like, and we're not going to buy a car that typically people look at and go, well, that guy's dirt poor.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think it comes down to what's the purpose of this whole, I'm not going to go too deep, but what's the purpose of this whole life anyways? Why are we here? What are we doing? Like,
to work 30, 40 years and grind yourself to the bone and then die?
really? That's yeah.
Or is it to be able to build the best free life you can have, to spend as much time with friends and family?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us get caught up in that rat race.
I view it as, yeah. I mean, that's why you have to have continuous, like, what is important in life? I mean, and I'm not saying that success and great success and money and wealth is always bad.
No.
It's not.
I know very rich people that
And-
do very great things with
Yeah,
it.
yeah. But there's a reason why you win the lottery and you go broke. It takes diligence
Yeah.
to keep money. I actually, someone told me the other day, it's not hard to make money. It's hard to keep money.
I can see that.
It's not you especially with today's world. You put.
Click of a button.
I mean, goodness gracious, this girl that said some word on the Instagram now quit her job, and I guarantee you we're gonna look at her in 5 years, and she's gonna be broke.
I just the Hawk Tua chick, right?
Yeah.
I just was talking about her with the wife last night. We were out walking the dog, and she's like, God, that girl. And I'm like,
What's next?
that's what this is it. I go, she had her 15 minutes of fame, and then let's say she did capitalize on it. I don't know how. I'm sure there's a way. Maybe she got paid to do some appearances, whatever. But I'm like,
There's a lifespan.
very quick with that.
It has to be.
Where do you go?
Never get in a business without knowing how to get out.
Ooh, that's great advice.
Never ever get into a business without knowing how to get out. And I do it all the time. I'm the biggest idiot when it comes to that. I do something, I'm like, perfect. And then you're like, oh shit.
How are we going to sell this?
How are we gonna get out?
Yeah.
You don't agree with me, I don't agree with you, whatever else. How do we get out?
How do you fix that? Contracts?
You
Finding the
do
right
your,
partner?
I think in the beginning,
Do your due
you
diligence
do your due diligence.
on a partner? Or whoever?
Well, and even how, like, when I got investors, so when we did our contracts, and we've done things with investors, right? And when we get investors, we put the formula right in there, how it's going to be, how you're going to agree that we're going to value this business. Period.
So there's no question.
There's
ifs,
no
ands, or buts.
questions. And I even put in a timeline how and when you can get out. Right? And then after that, you can sell or do whatever else. But this, from here to here, This is the first right of refusal. This is the evaluation. This is how you do it. Now, this is what happens if you get into hardship before 5 years. This is what happens if we fail.
But did that come from a mentor, or did that come from years of you just fucking it up?
I honestly believe it got me into the position where I get into something and I'm like, I was in a development on some property. I was building a subdivision, and I spent a tremendous amount of time and energy in developing this property. And at the end of the day, the guy looks at me and goes, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to put my property up anymore. And I'm like, but I have the plans. I've done the zoning. I've done the testings. I've done everything. I've built it out. And at my cost, I got 50 grand into this, project. And this was like 25 years. I mean, I did not have 50 grand to throw into this. I'm like, okay, I won't eat this week. I'm gonna buy, I'm gonna do this. And he goes, well, what, you 15 grand sound good to get out? Like, are you kidding me? Like, just at least cover my cost. So I just wasted all my time. My time was worth nothing.
More than 50
point.
grand, yeah.
Yeah, and so he covered my costs, and he didn't do it. And guess what? Fast forward 20 years. It's a subdivision today. They just did it 2 years ago. His son decided to do it. And it wasn't about, and it's those, when you do those things, I could have been furious. I could have called him names. We're still friends today. We still go to breakfast every once in a while. And he's like, hey, I just got to tell you, my son's going to do it. I said, good, go do it. Well, shoot, you got plans.
Did all the legwork for you.
Did all the legwork. Yeah. Doesn't matter. It doesn't mean no good to just be pissed off at this guy. And I want him to do well and blah, blah, blah. But this guy didn't need any more money.
Yep.
This guy has loads. He has one of the most successful tractor companies in the whole valley.
Yeah.
Tractor trailer. And he's just like, there you go. And it's just like, well, good for you. Go do it. And but you learn, okay.
Yeah.
I need to at least know how I'm going to get paid and how I'm going to get out.
Yeah.
Because if not, I mean, and it was, his wife didn't want a subdivision in front of their house. I get it. Yeah. He had 40 acres, 80 acres of grass and rolling, hills in front of her house. I don't want, what do you mean I'm going to put, she goes, you're going to do what to my farm? I'm like, did you not talk to your husband? I've been working on this quite a long time.
That's a red flag.
No, you didn't.
Oh,
okay,
God.
good. Awesome.
Yeah, good to know. Well, dude, I appreciate your time, man. It was great to sit down and shoot the shit. I know we probably didn't even crack into half of the shit you got going on, so that means you're just going to come back on.
Oh, goodness.
We'll schedule.
Well, when you see the ratings dive down, you'll be like, well, that was not worth it.
We have no ratings to go from, so it's only up from here.
It's only up from here.
Only up from here.
No, perfect.
So
perfect.
I appreciate your time, dude. Thanks for coming on, man, and talking a little bit of business and just kind of the ins and outs of I don't know. I look up to you guys, and I like to hear your all stories of success and failing.
I'm the fraud in the group, okay? Those guys, man, they've done so much more. It's amazing. It's amazing. These guys.
I feel like these guys are quite a bit. We didn't even get to crack into the real estate side of things, so we'll have you back for that. So, all right, thanks, dude. I really appreciate it.
All right,
thanks for coming on.
Good. No problem.